All right. How is everybody doing tonight? Hell yes. Saturday. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing great, thank you.
That's awesome. You sound great. You sound very excited.
I'm very excited. Nothing gets me in the mood like murder.
Especially these ones, man. There's some crazy,
Yeah.
crazy shit going on. Biscuit and Jess and Heather and Moby, Wit. How y'all doing? What's going on? Hope you're having a good Saturday night and up for some, we got, secret spies and murder and sex and all the makings of a interesting evening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we've got a double for you tonight.
That's right.
Two mysteries on the table, which on the surface are unrelated,
Right.
but their themes are very similar.
That's true. That's true. Hey, Wes, what's up, man? How you doing? Yeah, so tonight we're going to be talking about two different ones. Like Nick said, we got Gareth Williams and Jonathan Luna. Both are intertwined without even knowing it, man. It's crazy. We were going to put one of these together with the one last week, and we're figuring that there was a good tie-in with last week's, but these two ended up actually fitting together way better than anything else would have. So
Definitely.
hey, Nick hosting.
There we go.
Yes.
I have you on auto host, but it randomly selects who is live.
Yeah.
But, I'm here, so.
Might as well, right? Yes, Heather, it is going to be a great night. I've been looking forward to this all week since last week was a good time. I think we'll have a good time this week too. So, shout out to the sponsors, White Claw and this vape juice, I guess.
Danny DeVito.
Yeah, Danny DeVito.
The Boston Red Sox.
And the Pocky One Chip. Yep.
Just everything in the background, really.
Everything that you can see on my screen, they're all sponsors. Yep. Even Moby's PeteGunn show card is up there too. So sponsored.
That's
by
right,
Moby
and
too.
the Apple.
Yep. Moby is on both streams. So we're gonna start off with Gareth Williams, right? You want to kick us off on it?
Sure, absolutely. So I'll pull up my notes over here, and goddamn, is there a lot to say.
That's true.
So, I think that this worked out really well. How, without really communicating, you and I actually focused on different cases. Our attention were brought sort of different directions, where you focused the majority of your time into looking into Jonathan Luna, and I did Gareth Williams.
Yeah. Just happened to work
so that worked out really well. I have nearly 2,000 words over here of I didn't even copy paste. I actually typed all this shit out because the more I looked into it, the more ridiculous it got.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So I'll set the scene, I guess.
Let's do it.
Right? The victim, Gareth Williams, is a Welsh man, 31 years old, born and raised in Wales, working in England. Now, this guy is a mathematician and a prodigy at that. At the age of 17, he was not only attending his secondary school, which I have a name that I can't pronounce because it's in Welsh. It sounds like I'm casting a spell on the audience. It's like Yizgol Ukrad Bodadern, I think. I think you're all, going to have bad luck for 5 years now. But he was attending that secondary school while simultaneously studying mathematics part-time at Bangor University in Wales. All at the age of 17. A few years later, he would get his PhD at the University of Manchester in England and would then attend St. Catherine's College, which is a part of Cambridge. But he would actually drop out in 2001 just to go to work for the GCHQ, which is Britain's government communications headquarters. Specifically for the SIS, also known as MI6, which is
James Bond, baby.
Exactly. It is James Bond, actually. It's Britain's sort of foreign type of intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he did say Bangor University.
Indeed. Bangor University.
I caught on to that too, but you were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, I appreciate that. So MI6, it deals with a lot of terrorism, hacking, cybersecurity, international affairs, organized crime, things like that, especially across borders. And he, only a year actually before this takes place, this story that we're focusing on is 2010. In 2009, he was actually put together with a team of intelligence officers that were going to focus specifically on United States and United Kingdom-based hacking groups.
Yep.
He attended 2 large cybersecurity conferences, then took a number of training courses, and started what they call active operational work in the spring of 2009. So a few months into 2010, he's working in England for MI6. He is an acting agent. And he doesn't really quite fit in. He is 31, but he's always been sort of, studious.
Mm-hmm.
It would even come out later that unbeknownst to MI6, I think, I don't know how the fuck you hide something from intelligence, but he did. Unbeknownst to them, he was actually studying fashion design at a university for 2 years.
That I didn't get that part, and that could actually tie into some of the other stuff that happens later on.
Exactly. That is a detail that is left out in a lot of reports, and it gives people the wrong idea.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. That when I found that detail out, though, a light bulb went off. You know what I mean?
That does make sense.
So
he hid that he was working in fashion design, or he was studying.
He was studying fashion design while working as a secret agent.
Hey, Heather, Matt, Grace, how y'all doing? Slays,
welcome in, everyone. So yeah, a few months into 2010, he voiced an active disliking of his work. He didn't like these field agents. He thought that they were very, well, I'll use his words. He described it as a rat race with a focus on car races and drinking heavily. He didn't fit in. He didn't feel like this was his place. He liked to cycle, he liked to jog, and he wanted to go back to the countryside. And so, actually, that summer, he requested a transfer back home to go back, essentially stop being a field agent, start being sort of a, GCHQ person, less of a James Bond, more of a desk guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was actually due to be transferred back in September. They agreed to it. He was going back in September, but he would never get there. Our story begins, I guess, now in August. So there we go. That's everything I have on Gareth Williams. Anything to add?
As far as like his background, I'd say that you pretty much covered it. Before, when all of this kicks off, like you said, he was in the process of moving. He was disaffected by his job, and he was just, yeah. I don't want to spoil all the juicy details of what he was up to before he died, but
some weird stuff, maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Maybe not. Who knows? We'll find out.
Yeah. Well, when basically we could get right into how he was found. He didn't show up for work for about a week. Had been out of communication, and his sister, who for some reason I have a note here. I can't actually remember what she looks like, but I wrote that his sister was kind of hot. It's in my notes. His sister called in a welfare check on him. The police went to his apartment and did not find him there. And I couldn't find how they thought to look at this place, but they ended up going to a safe house that MI6 and them all owned that they used for putting up spies and stuff, and found his body in a duffel bag in a bathtub with a lock on the outside of it, which is just completely crazy, right? Shoveled into a North Face duffel bag, dead, with a padlock, locked from the outside. Oh, and the door was locked from the outside too.
Yeah, it was definitely crazy. So they would guess that he died on August 16th, but they wouldn't actually find him until August 23rd.
Right.
Like you said, a week of not showing up to work. I actually do have a note that some of his colleagues noted that he hadn't worked for a few days. I assume they looked at the safe house. Probably they talked with his work. Hey, has he been showing up? They go, no, that's a good point. Maybe check, this bunker we have him in, But really, all the safe house really is sort of it's an apartment.
Yeah.
With locks. I'm not sure what kind of security measures, presumably some. But I don't know. Maybe it's just like a work vacation spot. He cashed in his good boy points or something.
I mean, they do that type of shit.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
possible. Hey, Wes with the sub. Let's go, man. Thank you very much, sir.
So it's an August day. The police walk in, and they actually do start to notice a few details. First off, the place is very sparse. It's sort of a base camp, so it's not very well lived in. There are a few electronics around, multiple cell phones, a laptop. They find a lot of things, which we'll highlight shortly, but they notice, first off, that it's very, very hot.
Yeah.
Not just normal August heat, but actually the heat is on. The thermostat is up to 30 degrees Celsius, about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and they can't understand why anyone would do that. Unfortunately, this did lead to some problems later on where his body decomposed faster.
Right.
And it was harder to sort of determine cause of death. The conditions were sort of perfect for that, you know?
Hey,
now, on top of
how
that,
you doing?
when they walk into the bathroom, did you get any, like, real pictures of the bathroom? Because all the ones I found made it look like something out of Hostel, and I really doubt that's what it
no,
looked
the
like.
bathroom that I saw looked like it had all been gutted, and like everything was torn down to like the studs for everything that I saw. So like they tore this place apart.
It looked like something from, like, honestly, like you would wake up in a Saw film. There's no way that that's a safe house. You know, it looks like you walk into that room and you get tetanus, you know, just from exposure.
Oh, yeah. No, it looked pretty rough.
So I don't know if that's really what it looks like. But the police officer, he walks in, and like you said, there's a North Face bag with a padlock on it in the bathtub that is actually leaking disgustingly enough.
Right.
There is blood and decay dripping down the drain, which actually probably prevented, I'm not sure if he had any neighbors at this safe house, but if he did, they wouldn't have smelled anything.
Yeah, they said that it was really deliberate choice to put the duffel bag in the bathtub, so any fluids that leaked out of his body would go down the drain, preventing the body from being found, letting the extra heat in the apartment just kind of cause more decomposition and hide any potential evidence that was on his body, which is some kind of like smart ass killer stuff, right?
It's very smart stuff. So I forget what they do to get in, but they somehow get the padlock off at the moment.
Yeah.
Or they get around it. Maybe they cut open the bag, I'm not sure. But they get the bag open to look inside, and inside is Gareth Williams, naked, curled up, contorted. And there was actually a note from the officer that discovered him that he was contorted in such a way that the officer actually believed that he must have been dismembered.
Yeah, they thought his arms and legs had been removed and shoved in there. Yep.
That would not be the case. He was in there in one piece, but certainly in a very strange fashion.
Yes. So right from the jump at this point, like obviously MI6 and the police have to get together to discuss how they're going to handle this entire investigation in a way that doesn't leak classified information. You have a dead spy who works for MI6 who works on all sorts of crazy foreign stuff involving, like, at the time he was investigating with the NSA, money laundering routes that involved the Russian mafia that tied to Moscow. So like he was into some sensitive shit for sure.
He was even working alongside the FBI on some projects.
Yes. Yep.
So this dude's definitely into it. Now what's strange and interesting, one thing that I noted is that when he was buried the next month, September 26th, the head of SIS or MI6, Sir John Sawyers, actually attended his funeral. Which, from what I heard, is very unusual.
I had a note on that, actually, like, where, let's see, the head of MI6 shows up at his funeral, right? So, like, is that standard procedure? You saying it's not? That's kind of what I was wondering, because, like, if I had he'd only been there for a year, and I don't think any of my coworkers that I'd worked with for a year, I don't think I'd go to their funeral. Like, it's not like your boys at that
And he's
point.
transferring out.
Right.
From what I heard, and I don't know if this is true, and if anyone knows, please, tell us. But from what I heard, it is unusual. Williams was supposed to be relatively unimportant, supposed to be relatively low on the totem pole, and because, like, the director doesn't just go to every funeral. That's special,
Yeah, I thought that was pretty odd at that point. Maybe they do things a little bit differently over in MI6 than they do here, but
It's possible.
you know, there's a whole angle that follows that up where, like, is it a guilt thing? Like, you know, who killed this guy? Did they want to make sure he was really dead?
Right. Because I'll say this, you would think that a secret agent, a spy, an employee of an organization like this, they get killed, you would think that the organization would get on top of that. You would think they wouldn't rest until it was solved. But as we unroll this sort of investigative process to you guys, you're going to see that it seems like MI6 doesn't really care too much that Gareth Williams is dead. That's my take on it.
Oh yeah, that was
They
the
don't
vibe
give
I
a shit.
got.
And I really think that that's bizarre.
So, like, he was missing for a week, right? He hadn't called into work. He hadn't done, hadn't been in contact with them at all. And, like, so his standard operating
this
procedure.
was unusual for him, they said.
Just
he wasn't a guy to not show up.
right. And but they didn't go looking for him. Like, and the whole time he was in their freaking safe house. So it was like they had to have known he was there. Like, they had to have known he was staying there.
You think a secret agent stops responding and stops reporting to work, there's all sorts of things that could go wrong in your head. Maybe he defected.
Right.
Maybe he's been kidnapped. Maybe he's been assassinated. Maybe all this crazy shit pops into your mind. You know, you don't show up to flip burgers for 2 days and your boss gives you a fucking wellness check.
Yeah. 15 minutes late,
This
you're going to
guy,
call from Burger King.
7 days later, it takes Gareth Williams' sister to report him missing.
Right.
You know, that's very strange.
His attractive sister.
His very attractive sister. That reminded me when you said that. That reminded me of the Somerton Man, of the detective.
That's right. Dead guy with a raid, baby. Hell,
hey, welcome
yes. In. Welcome in, Raiders. Welcome in, Daddy. How you doing? Hope you're all having a fantastic night. I'm PeteGunn, this handsome man to my left. He's to my left.
Yeah.
He's NickApplesauce.
The other guy.
The other guy. Make sure you give Nick a follow if you enjoy what you see here. He has his own channel, does his own Twitch thing as well. We are currently just getting started on our weekly Saturday night true crime mystery series here, talking about
Indeed.
Gareth Williams, the dead spy.
Yep. And yeah, as you can see on the screen now, we have a couple of things here. Gareth Williams, dead spy in a bathtub.
Yep. Well, it also says he found dead in a
know.
duffel bag that was locked from the outside. I'm working the kinks out of that thing right there.
No, that's all right. That's all right. But it's true. He's a dead spy in a bathtub.
Well, if I know you're never really missing, I get memes every day.
God. All right. So yeah. So like you said, he was working with the NSA and the FBI. And this does lead to some problems where the U.S. State Department actually requests that they sort of be careful about what they reveal to the public.
Right.
In this case. They sort of come over and then they say, hey, can you guys not go into what Williams was working on at this point? And so police agree. The FBI, I even found, joined the investigation at one point, or even did an investigation of their own, but I found literally nothing on that. So I don't know if it was just for show or if they didn't find anything that we don't already know.
Right.
But they did do their own investigation. So this is a big deal internationally, you know?
Yeah, if y'all are just joining us, we haven't gotten too far into this yet. Basically, dead spy, found in a bathtub, in a duffel bag, shoved in there, and that's pretty much about all the background you need at this point. We're still just starting to unroll the whole thing.
So padlocked inside.
Yes, padlocked from the outside.
And what's interesting is where the key is. The key is found underneath him inside the duffel bag.
Yes.
So, like, I'm even trying to think of the logistics of that, really. That's a very odd thing, you know, whether he did it to himself, whether someone else did it to him. It's very strange to me how that key ended up locking the padlock and then getting underneath him.
Right.
Then again, I don't have a North Face bag, so, you know, I can't. I mean, I don't know if I would have too much luck squeezing myself into one anyway, but
they said that. So I actually saw a video of somebody squeezing into one, but they weren't able to lock it.
Yes.
And they said that they had like two different experts who tried to get themselves in there, squeeze themselves into the bag and lock it. They tried over 400 times and were unable to actually lock the bag, indicating that like they absolutely needed a second person there. So the police originally called this a homicide, right? And
yeah, I believe so. Let me see. Well, the police. What's interesting about this case is the police don't really do much of anything. I noticed.
Yeah.
I would say the coroners call it a homicide.
Okay, the coroners. Yes.
Because the coroners really, out of everyone, in my opinion, the coroners did the best investigation. You know,
which is different from last
strange.
week because the coroners were all fucked up last week. So
they were really bad. So what I have here is when they look down to the details of it. So he's in the bag. The key is underneath him. They take a look at the body. And obviously, because the heat was turned up in the apartment, decomposition has been sped up. They can't really determine a cause of death, but they do know that the body has no signs of a struggle.
Right.
There's no wounds on him that are visible, at the very least. And there's no traces of alcohol or any common drug in his system.
Right.
So right off the bat, that's what they get. And they look at the bathroom next and the scene, and this is something that bothers the fuck out of me. So what they do is they take a whole profile of the walls of the bathroom.
Okay.
And they take it of the rim of the bathtub and the bag's zipper and the bag's padlock, and there are no fingerprints, no palm prints, no footprints, no DNA, not even Williams. Nobody touched that shit, according to all of those methods to determine such.
Yes.
So that's pretty fucking weird.
It's wicked fucking weird. They said that not even like his footprints on the edge of the bathtub, like no prints of his at all. So indicating that like, all right. So I'm trying not to like spoil like the juicy parts here, but indicating that somebody must have put him in the bathtub after he was in the bag is what they're thinking.
Yes, the police immediately
no gloves,
get
Heather.
the impression.
There was no gloves at the scene anywhere.
Indeed. The police immediately get the impression that someone else was involved in this.
Right.
And there's something very interesting on the lip of the bath, actually. There's a scuff mark or a smudge. And I didn't get a picture of it, but from what it was sort of described as, it looked like something knocked into it.
Right. They
don't know what, so I assume it wasn't blood. If it was blood, they would have said it was blood. But they say it was a strange scuff mark on the lip of the tub. There's no signs of breaking and entering. There is some DNA that is recovered from the scene. There's some DNA on a towel. There's some DNA on his hand. And they take that and they bottle it up and they go to test it. And while they're waiting for that, they sort of continue with the rest of the investigation. But some things start to go on in the investigation that to me is a little strange. Such as the door being removed.
Yeah.
They just remove the door. And I don't think the door is kept anywhere. I don't know where the door goes. But the door is gone. So the police remove the door.
Right. Which the pictures that we saw shows the bathroom like completely shredded. Like they took the fucking walls.
Yeah, they took everything. And presumably for anything that would be on the surface of the wall tiles, maybe, for testing. You know, that would make sense. But, you know, some things recently, this case is still being investigated, where just recently somebody said, well, what about touch DNA on the door? And from what I can tell, the door is nowhere to be found. No one knows where the fucking door is. So that's awesome. That's great.
They did so just because you brought up that the case is still being worked on, they did, now I might be getting this confused with the other one. They did find a hair in this one.
Another hair, yes, indeed. And I'd like to save that for last because I think it's really the cherry on top of the investigative bullshit.
Okay.
How do you lose a door? That's a very good question. Now, what I will note, another thing about the door, is they said there were no signs of forced entry. However, there was also something that I saw where what's the name of the lock? It was like a mortise lock or a mortise lock or something like that.
A mortise lock? I didn't see that part
Yeah,
either.
something like that.
Let me look it up.
Let me double check. Yeah,
Mortise
Mortise. I'll link that in chat if anyone wants to look at it. They said that there was one of these on the door, as well as another type of lock. If this mortise lock, or however you want to pronounce it, I don't really know. If this lock was not engaged at the time, it actually was possible to reach through the letterbox of the door and unlock the other lock by hand.
Huh.
So that's just, something else. Something else to think about is if this main lock wasn't locked for some reason, then you wouldn't really show signs of forced entry because you could figure out a way to sort of get inside, sort of like a, child with a vending machine or something. You just get your arm up there,
Yeah.
So the experts get to it. And I have a couple of expert witnesses and expert, not witnesses really, just experts in general. One of whom, I love the title, one of them is called a bag expert.
Yeah.
I don't know what I have to do to become a bag expert, but I sort of want to find out because that's amazing. So, like you said, 2 experts, I wrote down, attempted to lock themselves inside a bag. I don't know if they're, locking themselves inside a bag experts. Those weren't the bag experts. Those are just experts in general.
Bro, courts have experts on everything. It's like, we got a fucking Beanie Baby experts they can bring in here. They got fucking,
Right.
I don't know, broken glass experts. Dude, I mean, this is kind of a tangent, but I met a guy that his job was to take broken pieces of tempered glass, which breaks into like millions of pieces. And he was like a forensic analyzer of freaking tempered glass. And he would put the glass back together. Like the million pieces of like safety glass from like a car window. He'd put it back together and tell you why the piece of glass broke. That was his job.
Fucking amazing, man, honestly. So these 2 guys try to lock themselves inside a bag as he did. They fail 400 times. Persistence.
Yes.
Gotta give it to him. I respect that effort. The Metropolitan Police, who are, looking into this case, they state that experts agree that it's impossible for Gareth Williams to have locked himself inside, especially since there were no fingerprints on the bag, on the wall, on anything. Unless he's, telekinetic. But even then, probably couldn't curl himself up into a ball like that.
Right.
A bag expert states that Williams would have had to have been dead or unconscious when placed in the bag. That no living being could really get themselves in there. However, another person states that a dead body is like too floppy. Like if you kill a person, they wouldn't fit into the bag like Williams was.
See, that's what I saw was that they wouldn't be able to fit a dead body in there because just, too floppy. Wouldn't be able to get it to work.
Now, the crossover of those ideas is unconscious.
Right.
One person says he's either dead or incapacitated. Another person says he has to be alive. So they sort of agree he's incapacitated. Then another pathologist, he states that CO2 poisoning would have probably incapacitated Williams in 2 to 3 minutes at most.
Right.
He would have gone unconscious. There was not enough oxygen in there, and then probably died, I don't know how many minutes later.
Which links back into like one of the major theories. I don't know if you want me to mention that theory that they have with him, but there's a running like sex theory here. So
Yep.
like a lot of people are into things like autoerotic asphyxiation. They make things that are like these latex bags that people get into, and they seal you all up into it, and like vacuum seal to it. Like there's a whole thing of like in the fetish scene that involves that kind of stuff. So, but if this was like a sex thing that he was doing, which there's reasons why they kind of went down that road, it'd be the dumbest freaking sex thing because like you only got 3 minutes before you're dead. Like it doesn't seem like it'd be a very fun time. Like even with like a belt and autoerotic asphyxiation, you got as much time as you want,
Right, and the padlock seems unnecessary in that case.
Right.
There was also someone sort of stated that if the way he was in there, his arms weren't restrained; they were up in front of him.
Right.
You know, and they state that if he was in there, conscious, even with the bag being padlocked shut, you could sort of rip open a hole, a zipper, to sort of, give yourself more air. So you could at least buy yourself some time,
Right.
breathe at the very least. And yeah, we'll get into the sex thing in a moment, because as more sort of evidence comes out, unfortunately the media begins to run with it.
Mm-hmm.
And as we discussed with the Somerton man, the media is awful.
Right.
As we talked about last week, they want to sell stories. That's, the big thing. They want there to be a big scandal. They want something weird. And because of that, things get all fucked up, really,
Mm-hmm.
and really hard to see the truth. So yeah, what we can go to next, I think, is probably the technology itself.
Okay.
So multiple phones and his laptop are found inside the flat with him.
Also, like a stack of SIM cards too.
Yeah, a lot of SIM cards. And really, strangely enough, is an iPhone, which is found there, which had been reset to factory default settings the day before he died.
Yep.
So he died on the 16th, they believe. It was reset to factory settings on the 15th. Everything else on the laptop and on all of his cell phones do not indicate that he was really in contact with anyone suspicious.
Right.
They look through the text logs and things like that. He's not talking with anyone. There's nothing strange there necessarily. They do find, strangely enough, on one of the phones, a nude photo that he took of himself. This was something I had to dig to find as well.
You found way more stuff on this one than I did, man. Jesus Christ.
I really went down, rabbit holes on this one.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm glad I did, because there's a lot of shit that's not on the surface.
Nick found the nudes.
I found the nudes, exactly. I'm like a bloodhound. I'm like a heat-seeking missile. I go right towards him. You know what I mean? So they find a picture of him, nude, aside for a pair of leather boots. I don't know what type of leather boots. I didn't see the picture, thank God. I didn't look either. I hope it's not out there. But, so that's kind of strange. But, it's a free country. You can do what you want.
It's true.
Pose nude in a pair of leather boots if you want. I don't know. But that's really it. They also do find a few things in his internet history, his browser history on his laptop.
Right. Which ties us into that other
things.
stuff, too.
Right, which in my opinion, again, not to taint your view, but I think that the media sort of overemphasizes the importance of this detail. But he did visit, on occasion, bondage websites.
Right.
So bondage-specific porn websites.
They said, so they said about that like it wasn't enough frequency to where they could truly say that like that was his thing. And I mean, like, let's be honest here, right? We've all clicked on some sites, you know what I mean? Like, we all have some stuff in our search history. So, yeah, he did occasionally go to click on some bondage type websites, and yes, there is a whole type of like, kink that involves being restrained and tied up and put in confined spaces and all that kind of stuff. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a connection there.
I also found something when I was looking. Both the detective and someone else agreed that based on sort of the timing of his visitations to these websites, it sort of coincided with specific parts of his life of when he was going through training.
Right.
So this wasn't like a weekly thing or even a monthly thing. This was specifically, he would go to these bondage websites, strangely enough, at the same time he was being trained to be a field operative.
Yeah, which I wonder.
That's sort of how it sounded to me.
I found the same thing, and I was like wondering like what kind of like field operations you have going on to where like that, connects with it. But I mean, I guess like because his landlord also had been called at one point, or he woke his landlord up at night one time screaming for help because he had tied himself to the bed and couldn't untie himself. So, like, I
Yep.
mean, there's a lot of things that point to that whole thing, but, like, I was thinking, if you're a spy and you're going out about to do spy stuff, wouldn't it, like, behoove you to know how to, like, at least untie yourself from certain situations? So maybe he was just
Yeah.
practicing, learning different methods. There's some really neat
Yep.
ropes in those bondage videos, some really cool knots, you know?
And that's actually what he told his landlady. Is he told her, I was just tying myself up to see if I could escape.
Right.
And some people theorize that he was covering up
That's
for a
true.
sex
That's
thing.
what this feeling.
Okay.
But
Cool beans. Onward ho. Let's talk to the trees.
you know,
That's true.
as like a note though, right? Another thing that wasn't found in his another thing that wasn't found in his browsing history was anything pertaining to escape artistry. You would really hear a lot of people who would be looking up like Houdini
Right.
or escape tricks or things like that. You would think that if you were training yourself to do a trick or trying to get out of something, you would do extensive research into it. And they never found anything. I feel like if they did find anything up that, barking up that tree, then we would know about it. So to me, that means they didn't find anything. In fact, in one video I watched that was sort of going over the Williams case, the guy was like, all these escape artists worship Houdini. They have books on Houdini. They watch videos of Houdini. They're obsessed with Houdini.
Right.
So this guy clearly was not an escape artist. Maybe he was looking at these bondage websites to learn something. Maybe he was looking for fun.
Sometimes you
But
just want a
regardless-
different spank, like that's
Yeah.
all. Like you want variety,
But like they said, it wasn't like a real fetish because he didn't really like go there often. It was a fairly infrequent thing. He would go onto these bondage websites.
Right.
And accounted for a very small time of the time that he spent online, they said. He was he worked with computers, obviously. He was investigating hacking and spent a lot of time online.
Hey Jim, hey Danny, how you doing? I mean, I've clicked on some weird shit. That's all I'm saying. Like, if I die, like, oh man, I feel so bad for my family if I die. Like, the things that'll come out from my browsing history if they look into it, it's just awful stuff.
Yeah, it's not good. Please don't.
So weird.
Please don't. But yeah, in fact, I actually wrote down the wording because I found the wording they used very interesting. They described his trips to the bondage websites as sporadic and isolated.
Right.
So kind of interesting,
Well, I mean, all right. So I feel like I might be like putting too much on this, but like if you go onto one of those sites, you're ripping through looking for the perfect video.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't just go click on one video and then you're done. Like it doesn't work that way. Like
and they said 30 to 60 minutes at a time he would spend on there.
Yeah. I don't know.
Furthermore, like you mentioned, actually, a word that did come up that I'd actually never heard until I looked into this case. No jokes, ladies. A word that, I never heard come up until this case was claustrophilia, which obviously we all know what claustrophobia is. I think a fear of tight spaces. Claustrophilia is the sexual gratification from being in tight spaces, like you alluded to.
Mm-hmm.
Although he did go on these bondage websites from time to time, he never went on a site dedicated to claustrophilia.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty specific fetish, you know what I mean, or kink.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're gonna go, if somebody wants to say that he locked himself in that bag because it brought him pleasure, it's kind of weird that he wouldn't have done any pre-gaming. Like that's just a thought that pops in your head one day completely.
That you're gonna jump right to
unprompted.
freaking locking yourself in a bag in a bathtub, but like there's so much. So that's like one big theory. And there's so much stuff though that just kind of makes it like unlikely. The fact that it was locked from the outside kind of ruins the fact that he did this to himself. He at least would have had. So if it was a sex thing, somebody else was involved. Like there had to at least be one other person there because like you wouldn't do that without a spotter. You wouldn't do that and then lock the key in the bag with you. Like you would if you were gonna do that for fun. Like you'd have somebody there with a freaking safe word, and they'd be ready to unlock that bag as soon as things got airy,
Exactly. We got a lot of bag experts. But it's true. And obviously we don't know what this guy did in his free time. Maybe he did work his way up to it. Maybe he did this all the time without the padlock and decided to make it extra spicy tonight,
That's true.
But again, everything's pointing to a second person. The police are essentially saying, we know there's a second person because there's no fingerprints.
Right.
Somebody wiped this place down, you know? It's around this time that I would like to note that the DNA testing does come back. And it comes back, unfortunately, as contamination. They find out, the forensic scientist himself did it. His DNA is found at the scene. The moron touched something or got his own DNA mixed up with the DNA, and unfortunately, either that means that whatever DNA was found was destroyed, or there was never any DNA to be found, and the forensic scientist accidentally swabbed his own spit up. So that's a real downer in the case, I think, because you hear about this DNA that's being found on a towel, you know, little sus. You hear about DNA being found on his hand, and then it all comes back as inconclusive. And unfortunately, that's just, you know, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Strangely enough, the police do put out sort of a wanted thing. What's odd is you'd think a safe house would have like a lot of CCTV, right? Especially in like London, because I think London has a ton of CCTV, like more than any other city in the world.
Yeah, no, all of London is being recorded at all times.
The last known photo of this guy is stepping off a train. I don't believe that.
Right.
To be honest with you, I don't. You're telling me this safe house doesn't have CCTV, but they say it doesn't. So what the police do is they issue this statement I found, and this is another thing which I only found by digging deeper. They say there's a couple that they're looking for, and they release 2 pictures. Now, the pictures are sort of like computer generated, like they're not actual pictures
That's
of
what
people,
I saw.
but they're like profiles.
Yeah, they were using like the facial like identification technology or whatever it is, like FET or something.
And again, you know, I'll link the article right here, and right on top, they are described as a Mediterranean couple in their early 20s, and they were seen going into, I believe, his home. So not the safe house, but his actual home, in somewhere between June and July. This is released. This is supposed to be a break in the case. And then, like, a little while later, the police are like, nope, we found them. We spoke to them. False alarm.
Yeah.
They had nothing to do with the case. I don't know who they were. I don't know what their names were. I don't know what they wanted. I don't know what they spoke to Williams about. But the police, it's fine.
They dropped it pretty quick.
It's fine. False alarm guys are bad.
They actually, I think they ended up releasing an apology too, saying like that we're sorry for like the inconvenience we caused these people and everything else. Katie, thank you very much for the follow. Hope you're having a good night.
And so it's very strange. And, you know, I would like to say now, actually, I'd like to dig in my heels and say I'm a massive dick. Because I've read through this case, and I've been thinking about it for just about 2 weeks straight. And to me, the police are bullshit in this case.
Right.
The police are bullshit. Every single investigator in this case is bullshit, and that pisses me off. But we'll get there. We'll get there, because it gets worse.
It does.
The longer this investigation goes on, it gets worse. So, yeah. So, at this time, the DNA comes back inconclusive. The leads on these 2 Mediterranean people are inconclusive. And at this time, the Williams family lawyer comes out, a guy named Anthony O'Toole. He comes out and he says that someone was present when Williams died, or at the very least, someone entered after he had died and probably stolen evidence.
Right.
And they say there's no forensics to support this. But at this point, like I said, the door and the locks have been removed.
Yeah, so anybody could just come in at that point.
They can't retest.
Yeah.
They can't look at the scene again. And, like, what's the door been? Tape? A little tarp taped over the fucking... A spy, James Bond, has been murdered in a bathtub, and they have, like, a please do not enter sign outside? I don't know what the fuck they're doing here.
Yes.
I also heard in a video that I watched, and I couldn't find this in any other source, but in a video that I watched, the guy was talking about it, and he mentioned that the skylight might have been ajar too. But I couldn't find anything more on that.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, so there's some weird shit going on. So the police experts, have walked through the scene. They've done their stuff. They say there's nothing to be found. The lawyer for the family says there should be something to be found, and, you know, obviously there's a bit of an issue there. And next, what I have here is the coroner. I sort of go on to.
Okay. Yeah, go for it. Most of what I have that we haven't gone over so far is like other stuff that was found in his home.
Yeah, you know what? Let's go over that real fast. Let's go over his possessions.
Okay.
That's a good idea. So, yeah, why don't you break it down for us? What did we find in this man's apartment?
All right. So, to go along with the whole fetish side of everything, they reported that he had over $20,000 worth of women's clothing and a collection of at least 26 pairs of women's shoes in his home, like women's designer clothing and shoes.
As well as a wig and makeup.
Right. So they say that it's a possibility that he was into cross-dressing, and that they also mentioned the fact that he was gay, and the media basically ran with it and said that a transvestite, that I believe the word was like transvestite spy murdered by
like
angry lover or something like that. And
yeah,
the media
it becomes a
spun into that
circus.
whole thing. Yeah.
It becomes a complete circus. So yeah, honestly, I sped past this part, and I'm glad that you pulled us back to it, because it's very important. I hate the media with a blazing passion. Notice, I hate just about everyone involved in this case that's not named Gareth Williams,
Seriously.
actually.
Hey, Teddy, how you doing? Yes, it's fucking crazy.
So they find, about 2,000 British pounds worth of women's designer clothing, 26 pairs of shoes. They also find that he had visited a drag show 4 days before his death.
Yep.
And he had 2 tickets to further drag shows. They have one person who comes out and says that, oh yeah, Gareth Williams, I recognize him. I saw him in a gay bar.
Right.
And like you said, it becomes a shit show. He goes on bondage sites. He dresses in women's clothing. He goes to drag shows and gay bars. This guy's wild, you know? And like you said, spurned lover. Or maybe autoerotic asphyxiation that a lover is covering up.
Yeah, the media definitely sunk into this one and was just, they were thrilled as fuck about all the details that started coming out about it. Like, this makes for juicy headlines for sure.
Yep. They're getting those clicks, they're selling those papers, they're filling up the TV slots, and that's really all that fucking matters to them. They don't care a man is dead.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, man, Biscuit's got a good point. What the fuck does his sexuality have to do with the fact that he was found dead in a bag? Absolutely nothing.
Question.
Right?
Absolutely nothing. There is nothing about cross-dressing that says you're gonna, lock yourself in a duffel bag.
Yeah.
There's nothing about drag that does that. There's nothing about gay bars that do that. But, apparently what type of hole he preferred is what, defines the man, and that's clearly a key part of this case, So this is why before I brought up the detail which surprised you. He was studying fashion for 2 years.
Right. Which makes all of this stuff make sense, right?
That's a detail that, nobody reported on because it's not juicy. Right. It doesn't fit the narrative.
And it completely changes the narrative. Like, every single one of those things can be explained by the fact that he was studying fashion. Like,
well, because get this, I also found somebody state, and like somebody in the investigation stated this, the clothing was unworn.
I didn't see that part either.
So I don't know what type of cross-dresser doesn't dress. Now, I'll admit, spending $3,000 on women's clothing and having a wig and makeup and shoes and all this shit, it's weird. It's strange. Not from like a personal standpoint. You do you, King. I don't care. I really don't give a shit. But it's definitely an odd discovery, especially because I did hear an interview with his wife. And his wife said, that his wife said we were very open sexually. And obviously people keep secrets.
Right.
I'm not saying they don't. But his wife, according to her, they were very open sexually. She was very open to experimentation. She feels comfortable that if he was into something like this, he would have told her.
Right.
His friends comment on the clothing. And another thing I actually found, which is even further interesting, right? The only picture we find is of him naked in leather boots.
Right.
Presumably men's. It didn't say women's, right? So another investigator, actually, I think the head detective on the case, says, and this is her word, he could have possibly fit in the clothing and shoes.
It's what Wolf just asked. Were these clothes even the correct measurements?
Right. He could have possibly fit in. His friends, and again, I'm not saying my friends don't know what I jerk off to, but at the same time, his friends come out and they say they believe that it's possible that the clothes were maybe gifts. The shoes, I even found out, were his sister's size.
Interesting. I mean, they probably get paid pretty well to do that job. Like, he could be buying all that stuff. He could be buying, Louboutin freaking stilettos.
He's a genius. He's working as an MI6 agent, researching hackers and Russian mafia and all this crazy shit while studying fashion design on the side. It actually sounds like a plot for like a Cartoon Network show, doesn't it?
Does.
It's like Totally Spies shit. But which also had a lot of fetish shit in it. But I digress. So, right. So this isn't like the stuff that comes out. They run out with all of this stuff about he's cross-dressing, he's into bondage, he's at gay bars, he's at drag shows. They don't talk about, well, the shoes weren't even necessarily his size, and the clothing wasn't worn, and he was studying fashion for 2 years. So, I feel it's fair to sort of present both of those side by side because, the media ran out with this eye-popping headline, and I think that it's really disingenuous. And so, I feel like once you present all the facts, maybe he was into some weird shit. Maybe he wasn't. I don't know. We'll never know, really. So that's all I have to say on the topic, I think, of that. I think I'll just scan through real fast.
As far as the sex thing and everything, yeah. I mean, other than the fact that, like I said, it just doesn't. It's such a dumb sex thing to do. Like, I can't like stress that enough. Like, if you were gonna be doing some crazy like sex act like that, no, you wouldn't. Nobody wants to. No, you're trying to get off. You're not trying to die. You know what I mean? Like, you would take the necessary steps needed to make sure you got that nut. My homie Smooth Steve always says, you got to get that nut. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like, he wouldn't have just like let himself go,
Yeah, and another video I watched was sort of short and humorous on the topic, but it still covered it fairly in depth, the actual details of the discovery of the body. And the guy said, like, I think they actually used the language that he accidentally locked himself in this bag, or that his death was an accident.
Yeah.
And, obviously what that means is he tried to get off, and he ended up, Thank you, Dan, for telling me.
How's it going, Dan?
Thank you.
C-Ballin, if you hit that PayPal, I got you, man.
But... Shipwreck Dan. I remember he told me he was going to change his name to that, but I'm still not prepared. Anyway, I digress. Right. So, where the fuck was I? What was I saying?
We were talking about getting that nut.
Get that nut.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, being accidentally locked in the bag.
You accidentally, right. You don't accidentally lock yourself in the bag. Obviously, by accident, what they mean is he was trying to get off, and he accidentally suffocated. Like, I actually, when I was in college studying criminal justice, I actually unfortunately had to see, crime scene photos of a guy who accidentally hanged himself from a doorway trying to get off.
The old David Carradine.
He rigged this whole weird apparatus up where he tied the rope around a weight, put it over the door, backed up against the door, leaned down so he was choking, and the whole idea is that he would fall forward, the door would open up because he was no longer in front of it, and the weight would fly out and he would breathe again.
Right.
Instead, he didn't fall forward. He slumped down up against the door, which led to him strangling himself to death, unfortunately.
Thank you for the host, Ari. Hope you're having a good night.
But you see, that's an accident.
Right.
That dude that's a real case that I really saw in college, and that guy had a plan, at least.
Mm-hmm.
That's an accident. It sucks. He had a plan. He probably did it a million times before, and this time it didn't work, and he died.
Right.
Padlocking yourself inside a duffel bag is a little different from that to me.
Right. It's just dumb. It's dumb if you're trying to get off. It's dumb. It doesn't make sense to me.
Right. So yeah, that's what I have to say on the whole sex thing. You know.
Let me see if I had anything else on it.
Oh, police were unable to find any alleged sexual partners, and nobody else said they spotted him at gay bars. So if one dude says he was spotted at a gay bar, I don't even believe he went to a gay bar then.
Right.
You know, could have been a mistaken identity. Or I remember Juice on stream was talking about how he accidentally wandered into a gay bar once, you know, with a friend of his.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bar. You walk into it,
well,
you know?
We were talking about the drag night thing. So for my brother's bachelor party, we went out to hit the strip clubs. There's this one area in Massachusetts that has a high concentration of strip clubs. And we walk in because it's a well-known place, and we go in, and we get to the bouncer. We all pay. As soon as we walk in, I realized what was going on. I realized we were at a drag event at the strip club. My brother and his friends did not. You know, they ran right up to the stage, got drinks. They were freaking throwing down bills. They were in there for about 10 minutes before they realized what was going on. You know, I just got a drink, sat at the bar, and chilled. So somebody could have said, "Hey, I saw Pete at drag night the other night." You know,
exactly.
What was he up to? Yeah, I just wanted to see what happened, Biscuit. It was a good time. We had fun. We stayed for a couple drinks. They freaking partied.
So yeah, that's the whole setup.
Okay, so
I would say that's all the evidence we have.
The
one more thing actually. All of the clothing and all of the wig and makeup, I think, were found in a separate bedroom, in the spare bedroom.
Right.
And he was found in the main bath. That's what I heard.
His family said that the clothing was part of mission training he was doing, and one thing I read too.
Really?
Yeah. They could have just been trying to say that to cover up or combat the media, but there's so much misinformation in all of these cases. That's what I've realized since we started doing this, is there's so much bad information out there. Like people take the smallest thing and twist it and run with it. Like, I know that happens, but you'd think like when it comes to somebody's like death and like something serious like that people would do
would have integrity.
Yeah. And they don't at all.
They don't. Fucking vultures, man.
Yeah.
God. It gets to me. It really does. And I'll go on a rant at the end of all this. But for right now, we have a coroner to report. In fact, a coroner's report to report.
All right. Let's get it.
So I have something here, which this wasn't really something I knew they did too much, but I'm just going to read the Wikipedia definition for a narrative verdict. A narrative verdict is a verdict available to coroners in England and Wales and in Ireland following an inquest. In such a verdict, the circumstances of a death are recorded, being a brief, free-form factual statement either instead of or in addition to one of the standard and familiar short-form conclusions, which does not attribute the cause to an individual. So a coroner's report says, this is how we think he died, and this is how we think it sort of went down.
Right.
So the coroner comes out, and they publish all of their findings. They state that Williams' death, they say, and this is a quote again, was unnatural and likely to have been criminally meditated. So that's the language they use. So he didn't die of natural causes, obviously, and we believe that somebody did this to him out of malice.
Right, which is 100% what I believe. I don't think this was a sex act gone wrong. And I don't think that this was like a suicide thing. I don't think that he had a sexual partner there with him doing this.
Exactly. How stupid would you have to be to think that this is an accident?
Right. Especially with a dude as smart as he was, you know?
Right. I wonder, how stupid would you have to be? Would you have to say, work for the Metropolitan Police? Spoilers. So they determined that there was not enough evidence, they say, to label it an unlawful killing, necessarily. So they're open to the possibility that maybe someone locked him in there as part of the sex act and then he died, you know, sort of like a manslaughter type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they say that that's the probable outcome.
Which would,
they reject suicide.
If somebody did do that, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that they'd wipe everything down and get the fuck out. But it just doesn't seem to make sense that you would have the key in the bag with him if you were doing a sex act with him that involved him being in the duffel bag. That blows that right away.
Yep, pretty much. Well, as opposed to a lawful killing, I guess, like a case of self-defense or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know how you
I don't
self-defense in
know
this one.
what definitions they use per se, but that's the language they use as unlawful killing. The coroners reject the possibility that it's a suicide, and the coroner even says that his interest in bondage, cross-dressing, autoerotic activities, if those things are even his interests, they do not have relevance to his death.
Right.
So the coroner says that those were not factors at all. The coroner themselves actually states that Williams' visits to the bondage websites were too infrequent to actually be labeled an obsession. And went as far as to say, the coroner theorized that what they referred to them as cross-dressing leaks to the press were a possible or even probable attempt at media manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
So the coroner, as I said, the coroner is the only one who does research worth a damn on this case, aside from you and me, Pete, because, the coroner goes as far as to call out the media and say that they believe it's very, very possible that someone leaked this information that he was a freak to the public in order to distract from the actual facts and details of the case.
Right. Which is what you would do if you were like all right, so if you were like trying to take out a spy and it's going to get found out and everything, or if you thought that maybe it wouldn't get found out, the first thing you would do if you were like a big all-powerful agency is you would try to discredit this person and discredit anybody that goes against you, and you would do whatever you could to like smear them, because all of a sudden like people aren't going to care as much, people aren't going to look into it as much, and they're not going to put as many resources to it if they think this is some dude who was just trying to get his rocks off that ended up pushing it too far,
Yeah, absolutely. And, I sort of poked around YouTube comment sections just to see what other people think. And a frequent idea that I saw sort of tossed around was these people, and I can't verify this obviously, but these people, call them conspiracy theorists if you want, but they say that when intelligence assassinations are sort of carried out, it's very, very common to label it sexual deviancy,
right,
to involve some sort of weirdness, some fetish, some kink, because what that does is it distracts from the actual facts, it creates a media circus, it makes the family coy and reluctant to speak out of embarrassment, and it discredits the actual victim and really, takes the focus off the fact that a spy was found murdered and more that a spy used to cross-dress and tie himself up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not far-fetched to me.
No, not at all. And the other case we have tonight has a lot of that similar stuff going on too.
Mm-hmm. Now, Heather actually brought up a really good thing. What if it was someone he worked with? Well, very interestingly enough, the coroner thought the same thing. The coroner actually told police that they should look into potential SIS or MI6 involvement in this murder. They say you should look into his coworkers because we don't trust that MI6 had no involvement in this. We at least are open to the possibility that it could have been an inside job type of thing.
Right.
Now, what's interesting here is, like we said before, like we established, MI6 and even the FBI told police, please don't look too deep into this. Don't look into his work. Don't focus on that because we can't have this shit getting out of its clearance level. So what the Metropolitan Police do is they get their counterterrorism command section, which is referred to as SO15, I guess.
Yep.
SO15 to look into it because they actually have the clearance to look at some of these documents. And what SO15 then does is sort of cleans it up and passes on to the police what the police are allowed to know, which is nuts to me that we're saying what the police are allowed to know when the police are the ones investigating the murder.
Right.
Because MI6 isn't saying to the police, calm down, boys, we'll handle this. The MI6 is saying, no, you do it. Just make sure you have to.
Yeah.
And so SO15 does this. They look into it. They pass on notes to the police and whatnot. The coroner calls out SO15 and says they did a shit job. The coroner says that SO15 failed to tell the senior investigating officer of the existence of 9 memory sticks and various other properties that were found within Williams' office. I was not able to identify what these other properties were, but I did see some other allusions to CDs and things like that.
Yeah.
SO15 also apparently interviewed several SIS or MI6 officers. I think the word is interchangeable, the term. MI6 is sort of the popular term, SIS is official.
Right.
They interviewed several officers, his coworkers and whatnot, but failed to take formal statements. So that's great. That's great. That's great.
Which is like just as bad as the guy from last week who was just writing down fake names on everything. Nothing was retraceable. Right. And like this is 2010, so like 12 years ago. I mean, we have the technology, man, to do this right at the time. It's not like this is like the 70s, you know?
Right. Now, I did dig a little bit deeper into what SO15 actually did find, because they must have found something, right? They looked into it. What did they find? Well, they said they looked at memory sticks, CDs, things of that nature, all like, you know, digital information. It wasn't like physical evidence. It was digital information that was on physical evidence. And they said that there was nothing really weird going on there, and nothing appeared to have been amended, even though anyone at any level could really change what was on there. Nothing appeared to have been changed. But this is a problem. Williams' belongings were in a shared locker at the facility that all of his coworkers, or at least some of his coworkers, had access to. He was missing for 7 days. Who knows how late into the investigative cycle this was discovered?
Right, and the person who killed him, like, knows they have, like, 7 days is all the time in the world when it comes to, like, getting rid of evidence and everything when you have a dead body going. Like, they figured they probably at least had a couple days, you know? So if this was an inside job, they had access to being able to edit anything on those sticks, tamper with evidence, do whatever kind of cover up they needed to. They could have went to his freaking apartment and planted anything at that point.
Without a doubt. You know? In fact, I'm almost surprised they didn't. So the coroner says all of this shit. Godspeed. I don't know who this person or these people are, but thank you for actually giving a damn about this dead man.
Yeah.
And actually saying the police did a shit job. MI6 might have actually been dirty, might have had something to do with this, and your counterterrorism unit sucks. I really appreciate... Oh, and the media can fuck itself. I really appreciate the coroner for saying that. So the coroner comes out and says all this shit, and the police, they say, all right, you know what? You got a point.
Hey, Moby, thank you for the bits, sir. Appreciate you. Just so everybody knows, too, if you don't know, me and Nick split all of the gift subs and bits from these streams. So if you feel like throwing down, it does go to both of us.
That's right, a 50-50 split. And if you don't know, now you know.
That's right. And if you don't know, now you know.
So the coroner says all this shit. The Metropolitan Police say, you know what? You got a point. You got a point. We'll take another look-see. And to the Metropolitan Police's credit, they launch a further investigation, which actually lasts 12 full months. A whole nother year they look at this case. And the officers working the case, the police officers, they state MI6 actually allowed them unprecedented access to their staff. MI6 was more open with the police than they'd ever been before, right? And the Metropolitan Deputy Assistant Commissioner, Martin Hewitt, great officer, I'm sure, great man. He comes out with his stupid fucking suit on, with his stupid fucking ranks, and he looks you dead in the eye and says, I think you're stupid, public. Doesn't really say that, he implies it, because he comes out and he says, yeah, we looked at all of the evidence, and we say, this past year of investigation, the most probable scenario, that's the words he used, the most probable scenario is that he died alone, accidentally locking himself in the bag.
Yeah, they said there was nobody else present at the time that he died.
Fuck you. Are you kidding me? Your own fucking police initially say that's ridiculous. Everyone with 2 brain cells knows that ridiculous. Did the man float into the bag? Did Professor X do it? Dude!
Oh man, Slays with the 1,000. Hell yes. Thank you very much, Slays. We love you very much.
I'll carry on, Matt, but I'm very angry. I am very fucking angry. Because this reeks. This reeks.
Right, it definitely there's some fishy stuff going on here, especially when you get into the stuff that he was working on before he dies.
Yep. And I've got a couple more little tidbits that I'll reveal once we start talking about the theories again.
Okay.
But you know, for right now, that's the case. Oh shit.
Hey, Anonymous dropping 5 subs on us. Thank you very much. Fucking amazing.
Thank you, Wes.
Yeah, Moby with
Oh,
another
shit.
1,000. Holy shit.
I should go on rants more often.
Dude, for real. Guys, thank you very much. Fucking appreciate you big time. That means we have a hype train.
Yeah, we do.
Hell,
All right, let's.
yes.
You know what? Choo-choo. Let's have a little moment of celebration.
And Dan with the
Hey,
giving that prime, baby. Thank you very much.
a moment of levity in these trying times.
Yeah.
You know, I'll say thank you, everyone. I really, you know, we appreciate the support and whatnot.
Yeah.
This is new for us. These 2 cases tonight is gonna. I'm angry. I am, and I think everyone should be angry because Yuba County, there was a little, you know, police. Oh, they did a bit of a bad job with the investigation. A little bit of bad luck, but at the end of the day, it's a tragedy, right? Everybody tried their best and went home, and it wasn't quite enough. You could say the same for the Somerton man. The media certainly made a circus out of it, but to be fair, it was kind of a circus. We still don't know what the guy's name is. You know?
Biscuit with another 1,000. Holy shit. Holy shit. Freaking hype training it up hard. Yeah.
This case, you know, this case and the next one we'll talk about in a little bit. It pisses me off because this isn't incompetence. This is malice, in my opinion.
For real. For real. Holy shit. And another 1,000 from Wes. And 2 more gifted subs from Moby. You guys are fucking out of control. You're out of control. It's fucking insane. It's so much hype. So much hype. It's crazy, man. I'm, you know, kind of just to like throw it off, or I'll throw it off track here a little bit.
Yeah.
This has been so much fun to do. And
Oh, yeah.
we're on our 3rd week at this point, and all of the people coming out and chilling with us and listening to us talk about this stuff has been awesome. I've been feeling it. It's been the highlight of my week lately. So
Yeah, for real. I mean, you know, this was a passion project you pitched it to me as. You know, it was something you talked on stream about, how you used to do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, you loved it, but it sort of fell through, you know. And then you came to me and said, hey, would you be interested in doing something like this? I'd like someone to collaborate with. I said, absolutely, I would.
yeah.
And what's nice is that, you know, what's our content really, typically? Your content, tier lists, eating chips, memes,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Not chips, hot chips, Pocky hot chips, right? My content is playing Pokemon and map painting games and showing off how many countries I can name from memory. So for all of you guys to come out and be as interested and passionate in this stuff as we are, you know, it was a bit of a gamble, but at the same time, you know, it's clearly paid off, and I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. I'm glad it's been going as well. I'm glad we're both having as much fun as each other doing it. Slays with another 1,000 bits. I'm just concerned for the door.
Right? Where's the door? I want the receipts.
That's true. That's what
man.
it's feeling.
Dude, and if you don't
Cool
already,
beans. Onward, ho. Let's
speaking
talk
of
to the
Nick,
tree.
he is a
That's true.
amazing Twitch streamer here. I'm sure most of y'all all already follow him. But if you don't, give him a follow. Twitch.tv/NickApplesauce is sexy.
I'm live. I play games. I sit by a campfire sometimes.
That's right.
You know, wear cat ears a lot of the time.
That's right. Oh, man. freaking all the alerts going off at once. Holy shit. Wes with another 69 bits.
I'm glad. I was getting too angry.
Yeah,
this was a nice segue, though.
This was good timing, yeah.
It was really good timing because, like, that's where the investigation ends. That's, like, the official close to it.
Right.
And some more stuff comes out in 2015 and then 2021. But, which I'll probably yell about more, but, you know, we'll cross that bridge once we get to it. But, yeah, for right now, case closed, guys. It's an accident. That's the official conclusion. Aren't you satisfied? Sure, the family loves that.
Yeah. It's definitely not an accident.
Your son, your husband, I don't think he had any kids, fortunately. I hope not.
No, I didn't see anything about any kids.
Or maybe I wish he did, so he had a legacy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, sorry. He was just a cross-dresser who locked himself in a bag and suffocated to death. He's not a brilliant mathematician, not a prodigy who has, like, 5 fucking degrees. You know?
Seriously, even like just telling the story, like we've gotten to a point where it's gotten so diluted and we're giving the facts that I briefly forgot that he was like a savant genius that has like all these like credentials because like we've gone so far down.
Off. This guy was 31 years old, brilliant.
That's true.
You know, was going to high school and college at the same time at the age of 17, got a PhD, and you know. He left Cambridge because it wasn't challenging enough and fucking went to work as James Bond. This guy should be a badass, and sure, maybe he tied himself to a bed. I would also say maybe he didn't. Can we trust his landlady?
She could have been paid to say this shit. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Would you start getting spies and stuff involved in it? Like, all bets are off the table. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Oh, and Anonymous puts us up over the top for that level 4 hype train. Holy shit, it's been a minute since I've seen level 5. Thank you very much, Anonymous, with those fucking 3,000 bits. Holy shit. Holy shit. It's crazy. It's insane. That's like, y'all have been fucking crazy as fuck here. I can't even believe
Matt's
it.
He's got a new name for the case.
Yeah,
let's hear it.
Let's hear it, Matt. I gotta hear it. Dude, that you guys are really amazing. It's fucking incredible. And not like I'm not just talking about the bits and subs, but just everybody coming out and chilling with us during this. We still have a whole other case after this. We got plenty of content left tonight too. So,
and you know what? Maybe that's an interesting point to raise. We've talked about a few different cases that we're interested in, and so far we've covered. Well, once tonight's over, we will have covered 4 cases where there's a lot of mystery and like openness. Not really a good conclusion, I would say. There's at least something weird, you know?
Biscuit with another freaking 1,000. Holy shit.
That being said, I wonder, like, what's everyone's thoughts on, other dark shit? We talked about maybe doing H.H. Holmes and sort of documenting the murder hotel.
Yeah, H.H. Holmes like is on my short list. Thank you very much, Biscuit. Appreciate it.
Yeah. What would you guys think about, like, less mystery and just weird shit like that, I guess.
And you can also DM either one of us on Discord. We're always in the DMs if you have a suggestion too, and we would definitely look at it. I've
got a couple good suggestions actually, and it's badass.
Yeah.
I love serial killers. I'm glad. H.H. Holmes was a whack one though.
Yeah, no, that one's fucking nutty. So, like...
We'll talk about him later on. I want to start talking about how weird he was, but we'll save it for an episode, and we'll definitely do it.
Oh, yeah. H.H. Holmes, yeah, he's intriguing to you, dude. He's crazy. Yeah. Fucking crazy.
Oh, well, that's what I'm asking you, Biscuit. Do they have to be unsolved, or can they just be wild? What would you guys like to see?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much open to it. We're both into, like, both sides of this whole thing, so we happily go down either rabbit hole.
Absolutely. Just so long as there's something to talk about.
Solved are cool too, yeah. Holmes was awesome. There are so many interesting serial killers, dude. There are.
Okay, she.
Halloween party with PeteGunn and Nick on Twitch. What day of the week Halloween's fall on this year? Do you want to talk about? Do you want to get back into what he was working on at the time, or do you want to go into something else on there?
Yeah, sure. Let's Yeah, let me see real fast. So, this is a name. I don't know how much you have on this. I didn't really hear too much aside from like passing mention. Like I don't know what the time frame for this discovery was when this came out. During the initial run, it wasn't revealed that he was working on tracing Russian mafia. That was something that came out later. I think because the U.S. like FBI essentially said, you know what, fine, fuck it, you can say.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really care anymore. But there was something really weird. Bill Clinton's name comes up.
So I've had this highlighted for the whole time we've been talking about. I wanted to talk about the Bill Clinton thing.
That was not the suspect. The fucking Clintons did it.
Yes, the Clinton's body count is getting higher. And anonymous with another freaking 1,000. Dude, y'all are fucking crazy.
Bring up a picture of Bill Clinton.
Y'all are fucking crazy.
Let's look at that man's eyes. Oh, shit.
Dude, I mean, Anonymous, thank you so much for the bits. All right, let's get a younger picture of Clinton here. I think this is the better picture to use.
Absolutely, I like it.
So Slick Willie might be involved in this whole case. Like there is that possibility. Like
yeah,
the Clintons, man. Jesus Christ.
So all I had on it was a friend of his, not a Bill Clinton, of Gareth Williams, was going to a party hosted by Bill Clinton.
Right.
And he asked Gareth Williams who else was going. And so Gareth Williams...
Holy shit. Anonymous with another 2,000 bits, dude. Holy shit. Holy shit. Damn, man. You guys are crazy. At a level 4 hype train. Dude.
That's a level 5 in my book.
That's basically a level 5 right there.
Holy shit.
Wow. Y'all are fucking,
you guys are fucking ridiculous.
Insanely generous. Insanely generous. Wow. Yeah, I count that as level 5 as well. And we got some new emotes on that one too.
Holy shit. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you. Thank you. What did I get? I got is that a plane? Oh, it's a dog. It looked like a plane. Oh, man. Thank you guys very much. It's insane. It's fucking insane.
It's a dog. It's a plane. It's Bill Clinton flying in to fucking kill this guy personally.
Oh, man.
So yeah, what happened with it is Bill Clinton was throwing a party that Gareth Williams' friend was going to, and Gareth Williams was asked by his friend who else was going. Could you check? And so Gareth Williams went beyond his clearance, hacked into like Bill Clinton's fucking guest list, and sent it to his friend.
Right. Which
now
I guarantee Jeffrey Epstein was on that list.
I said the same fucking thing. It all comes back to Jeffrey Epstein. It's like 6 degrees of separation. Every single politician and famous person loops back to Jeffrey Epstein somehow, you know?
Yep.
But no joke. So I don't know if that's pertinent. I don't know if it's relevant, but it's true.
I mean, we both wrote it down, right?
Yeah.
So
it's notable, I would say, and almost comical. It's like a joke. Oh, the Clintons did it. You know, it's the joke. You're going to shoot yourself 3 times in the back of the head.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to lock yourself in a duffel bag naked.
The Clinton body count is fucking real, for sure.
Maybe we should do a whole stream on that. You know?
We could.
Die in a plane crash the next day.
Yeah. Oh, God. Man. So he was also doing like a lot of other freelance spy stuff on the side, which is against the rules when you're working for MI6. So
yeah, he was super busy.
Yeah. You
can talk a little bit about that if you have any details.
I don't have too much on it. So like you'd said, he'd hacked into the Clintons guest list on there, but the only other thing I had was that it was said that he was doing a lot of freelance spy stuff, and he had breached his security clearance on multiple occasions, and some think that his own organization might have had him whacked for being too careless and knowing too much. He was also working with the U.S. security services and had a lot of information there that he wasn't supposed to have as well. So some theories on it are that his own government had him whacked. Some is that the U.S. government had him whacked. It could be a combination of the both. he was also, at the same time, he was working on tons of stuff involving Russia, which could bring us down a whole other Russian rabbit hole on this case.
Yep. And I think we're only going to really scratch the surface, because at a certain point, it doesn't even become about Gareth Williams anymore.
Right.
In fact, very quickly, it stops being about Gareth Williams.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I guess we can move on to 2015.
Sounds good.
When I have Boris Karpikov.
Yep. KGB agent.
An ex-KGB agent who defected and moved to Britain. 2015. This guy, he's ex-KGB, and the KGB was dissolved, I'm not sure when, but a while ago. That being said, the KGB obviously, like Putin was ex-KGB, right?
Yeah.
So they're not all gone. They're still around. They're just not like a proper organization anymore.
Yeah.
So just because the KGB isn't a thing doesn't mean KGB people aren't still doing their thing, you know?
Hey, Bakey.
So yeah, this guy gives an interview, and he says that he has sources in Russia that claim that the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, the SVR, were responsible for Williams' murder. And Karpikov says that the SVR tried to blackmail Williams into turning coat and becoming a double agent.
Right.
At which point, Williams said to them, "No, I won't. And in fact, I know another spy that you've turned. I've identified him, and I'm going to tell people." At which point they go, "Rats, we have no choice but to kill this guy."
Right.
Bruh, indeed.
Bruh, indeed.
That's what I would do if I were confronted by Russians. I would say, "I know your secrets. I'm going to go to the public."
That's nutty, right? Because like obviously they're gonna kill you. They've killed a lot of people. You know, Russia is a crazy place. They do some crazy shit. Like,
so, yeah. What they do is they put untraceable poison in his ear at this point.
Yes.
Which kills him dead. Stuff him in a bag. Stuff him in a bathtub. And that's the end of the story.
So that's what they claim. I mean,
that's what he claimed.
Right. Which, I mean, he could be doing it for publicity. Imagine the book deal you could get out of it if you could somehow have immunity and there was no actual evidence, but you seemed credible enough. You could make some dough. I guess we don't.
Oh, we
need
are
Bill
still
Clinton
looking at Bill Clinton.
Yeah, I was just taking Clinton off. Yeah, no, not Clinton. I mean, maybe.
No, Clinton didn't do this. But, you know, I guess it could have come up in a different sense. Maybe the guy was like, "No, I'm not going to be a double agent. I'm not going to do that." And then he was like, "Wait, shit, they're going to kill me now. Wait, I'm friends with, so-and-so, who is also a double agent." I don't know. It's stupid to me.
Yeah.
It's stupid. But then again, the world is stupid, and it makes no sense. So I don't know. That's what Boris Karpikov says, and that's all I know.
Right. I mean, so the Russian angle is pretty legit, right? Like, so he was working at taking down like Russian mafia in Moscow.
Specifically tracing money laundering
right.
that was going back to Moscow.
Which is like you're hitting them in their bloodline there when you start taking out the money. Let's see.
Yeah. And this led me down a rabbit hole today, actually. I would say that Karpikov's story sounds implausible. It sounds ridiculous. But at the same time, the idea that Russians did it is not implausible.
Right.
I'm going to post another article in chat, actually. It's a really, really well done one by BuzzFeed. And if you scroll about halfway down the page to a section called The Web of Death, very fancy.
Isn't that in Dead by Daylight?
You will see that there has been a long recorded string of suspicious deaths of powerful people who are believed to have all been caused by Russia. On British soil, this is.
Right.
We're talking about we're talking about Russian defectors. We're talking about oil tycoons. We're talking about friends of the prince. And I read through this today, and I was sort of blown away. And where Gareth Williams doesn't know any of these other people. You see all of these other people know each other typically. And really the only thing connecting Gareth Williams to them is he's a spy, killed in mysterious circumstances, who crossed the Russian mafia. A few of these stories stuck out to me, one of which, I forget which one it was, but one of whom he lost all of his money, they said, in bad deals, and the Russian mafia had it out for him. and he jumped in front of a train and he died. And his friends came out after that, and his friends stated that he got a call from Turkish mafia that stated that they were going to kill him very slowly and very painfully in the next few days unless he offed himself. Now, to me, that sort of rings back to the Mediterranean people who walked into his house.
Right.
Turkish mafia connection there, I don't know.
The people that they just let
Regardless-
go that had no connection to the case whatsoever and didn't release any of the information about him, right?
I would say also, if you read through this list, which I would encourage people in their free time, switch to timeline mode, just go through and read. You know, it's a quick read. It's fucking weird because a recurring theme is that these people die in mysterious, sus fucking ways. And the British fucking intelligence, their police, their intelligence say, nah, it was natural causes. It was an accident. It was a suicide. And you will see at the bottom of several of these accounts, it'll be like, the U.S. has agents that say the Brits are wrong and Russia did this.
Right.
So, for some reason, MI6 doesn't seem to give too much of a shit when their people are being killed on their fucking soil. That's what I'll say. That's certainly what it seems like to me.
Which, like, all these... All right, so, like, when you, like, boil stuff like this down, right, you have... we'll say Russia and the U.S. or Russia and England, and you're supposed to be enemies. You're supposed to be having all this friction. Like the people at the top, you know, maybe not all the way at the top, but the people close to the top are always making deals with each other. They're always covering each other's ass. There's so much money involved in all that kind of stuff that, like, you know, somebody in MI6 could very likely have been getting paid and could very likely have been kind of like greasing this in a certain direction to try and cover their own wallet, you know?
Yep.
There's, when you're talking about like Russian mafia money laundering, I'm sure there's a lot of fucking money involved in that a lot of people get a little taste of, you know?
And all of these, you can see how the Russian mafia on this web is tied to multiple of these victims. People who were going to testify and died like a couple days beforehand. People who were, you know, sort of involved point blank in those deals who were silenced. And you have actual poisonings to suicides, possibly under threat. You know?
Hey,
it's just weird.
Moby, thanks for the gifted sub to Danny. Appreciate you. Thank you very much.
It's just weird, you know?
It is.
And the last guy, you know, I would just like to note, I loved his description. He discovered, actually, he was like a scientist who discovered that Russians had poisoned a guy earlier mentioned on the list. He proved it. And later on, he goes to Russia. He says he's being followed. He comes home, and apparently he just decides to stab himself to death multiple times in the arms, chest, back, you know, stomach with two different knives.
Two separate.
That's something people do.
Yeah.
That's people. You know, people do that. It's a suicide, obviously. That's how people kill themselves.
Oh man, like that's like what I was watching something on TV. It was like a commercial for a TV show or something where they were like, "Oh yeah, he fell down like 3 flights of stairs and onto a pile of bullets or something like that." Like
for real. So yeah, that's the Russian connection, I would say.
Let me pull my notes back.
Anything else on the Russian connection?
Let me get my notes back up here.
I do have that U.S. spies, just like with other people on the list right there. The U.S. spies did claim that they shared intelligence with MI6 about potential Russian involvement. So it's not just this Boris guy.
Jeez, Moby with another gifted sub, man. Thank you very
nice.
much, sir. Thank you.
How's the lasagna, by the way?
Yeah, I got to watch
That's
him.
a real question.
I left when he whipped his meat out, and not because I didn't want to see him whip his meat out, but because like I had to finish getting ready for this and take a shower and eat dinner. So, yes, Moby is the fucking goat. He's got he does Discord streams. He needs to come to Twitch.
He's a fish, actually.
He is a fish. That's right. He's not actually a goat. He's a fish. Let me see here. So, as far as like the Russian connection goes, I think you pretty much got the whole thing that I had. The only thing that I have really left on this, I believe, other than like, you know, theorizing on stuff, is the most recent thing from this year.
Yep. Oh, another thing I found that literally was mentioned in one article I found and nowhere else was that there were a couple of strange transactions in his bank account in the days leading up to his death. Where there were 3 lots of £2,000 that were paid into his account and then withdrawn shortly after being deposited. And also found in his flat were 2 stacks of banknotes that both equaled 500 pounds. And there's nothing else on that. So, I don't know. That's kind of strange, but
I would think spies would have like stashes of money. I don't know about the bank account transfers, but
right. But that's really the only detail that we haven't covered. That I actually put that down under theories. I literally just wrote other strange things, and that's the only thing there. Yeah. Because I don't really know what that's a part of. How do you lump that in with the other theories? I don't know. It's just sort of there.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's fucking crazy.
We can fast forward to the most recent development, which is actually in February of this year.
Right.
DNA has come a long way since 2010. DNA advances at an incredibly fast pace. Touch DNA exists now, as I mentioned before. Rest in peace to the door, by the way.
Right.
Just pour one out for the boy again.
We discovered last week that DNA was just invented not that long ago. So
1987.
Yep.
So it used to be that you needed the root of someone's hair in order to get a genetic profile.
Right.
That's no longer the case. In fact, according to a new expert, not a bag expert, but a forensic expert on DNA, all you really need is 2 millimeters of hair in order to create an accurate DNA profile of someone.
Right.
So what I wrote down here is that they did actually find hair on his hand. So there was DNA on his hand, apparently. It wasn't just the contamination. And what they did is, at the time in 2010, they could tell it wasn't Williams' hair.
Right.
It was someone else. But they couldn't figure out who. Now they can. New techniques have been, invented. And Professor Angela Gallup, she comes out with this and she says, hey, police, I'm unveiling this new system. I believe that we can, with 2 millimeters of hair, create an accurate DNA profile and figure out whose hair that is in that bag, or at least vaguely whose hair that is, whether it's, just ancestry or whatnot. And I would love to help. I would love to help out. And the Metropolitan Police, in all of their efficient glory, they say, nah, that's all right. We're pretty sure we solved it.
Yeah.
That's great. That's fucking great. That's great.
Yes. Yeah, they said they had no plans on reopening the case, and they said since the investigation and an inquest had been completed, they were pretty much done with the whole thing.
He locked himself in a bag. That's the story.
Yes.
That's the official conclusion. He killed himself accidentally.
Yep. Which is so fucking nutty. And
a little while after that, actually, they did go back on that and said, oh, well, we'll assess if these new techniques can help us really solve this case. And I have a theory as to what all of this is about, because I'm noticing a pattern here. But let's throw up a poll. Why don't we go to the theory section? What does everybody believe? Everybody get around in the talking circle. I'm very angry. Not at you, though. I love all of you. And let's see what there is. I'll create a poll real fast.
All right, do it up.
Let's see. So, what happened? Right? Should I say who did Gareth Williams? We don't know. Because Twitch thinks we're old babies who don't know what the word kill is,
Yeah. Oh, you can't put kill in the poll?
I bet not.
Yeah, no, it's fucking ridiculous what you can and can't put in a poll.
You know what? Who bagged him? That's what I'll say. Who bagged Gareth Williams?
The missing door did it, aliens.
But I don't want to bring up aliens, but,
Not space
was
yetis.
It himself? Was it Russian intelligence? Was it Russian mafia? Was it MI6? You know what? I'll put himself/lover if you think it was really an accident.
Yeah.
Or was it, I don't know, Bill Clinton? Why not?
Yeah, was it us?
Put him up there. No additional votes with bits. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
And I'll just start it. There you go. What does everyone think? Who bagged him?
There's a poll
Who bagged this poor man?
at the top of the chat. I don't get that. Like, if the stream has the word cleared to automod, then you should be able to say it in the poll. They also don't let you put, like, you can put stuff in titles on Twitch that you can't put in the announcement too.
I'm seeing an interesting split already.
Matt likes the Turkish mafia angle. Have you seen It's Always Sunny where Charlie makes a chart in the mailroom?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if you think Turkish mafia too, that would qualify under Russian.
I voted
Bill
as well.
Clinton, 1 vote. That person's not showing up tomorrow.
Poor Bill Clinton.
I know.
You can't put torture either. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can't write on there. Why do I not have a
A lot of people say an inside job, and I have to admit, man.
Slays.
Isn't Russian intelligence basically just the Russian mafia? That's a very good point. Certainly seems they roll in the same circles.
Pepe Sylvia. It's all Pepe Sylvia. Oh, man. Bill Clinton is Bill himself because one day Gareth showed up disguised as Monica.
In the wig, he put on a blue dress, you know?
He did have all of the fucking shit. Maybe. 100% an inside job. That's where we got. We got most of it on MI6. Interesting.
I would say I haven't voted yet. And I'm between Russian intelligence / mafia. They're the same, honestly. He had clothes that were... They said he could have possibly fit inside the clothes.
Epstein Island.
Oh, no. They weren't that small. Don't worry.
He did have... So he had women's clothing and shoes that they said could possibly fit him. Like, a lot of money in it. But he was also studying to be a fashion designer. So there's, like, a lot of, like... Yeah. There's a lot of room for that, you know? For that to be
I'm
legit.
Between inside job and Russian intelligence. MI6 certainly seems to be pretty secretive about the Russians who are killing people on their fucking soil. I'll say that much.
While this poll runs, I'm going to run to the bathroom before we move on and get into the next one. So the stream is all yours,
We're at the end here. All right, cool. I'll just go on another rant.
Go for it.
So yeah, this is the conclusion of the Gareth Williams case. This is all we know. And it pisses me off because there's some real fucking incompetence at play here.
No, God, please, no, 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 no.
That's true. That's what this feeling
Okay,
is.
okay. Cool beans. Onward, ho.
That's true.
Let's
Cool
talk to the
beans.
trees.
That's true.
The sound effects, Jesus Christ. It's a Brum moment. It is. It pisses me off because, as we said earlier in the stream, show some respect to the dead, I agree. Play the rip, you know? Throw some emotes. Is there an echo? Yeah, so 9 votes for MI6, 2 for Russian intelligence, 1 for Bill Clinton. Really, I don't know. It's tough. I agree that MI6 certainly seems involved. And yeah, if it's a double agent, I think it's valid to say both did it. I don't know. It's tough to me. It was definitely an inside job, though, because like I keep saying, MI6 doesn't seem to really care. This was a guy, that's right, someone go check Pete's bathtub right now. Like, honestly, this was a guy who, as I said earlier, was a prodigy, a mathematical genius, a brilliant guy, you know, great agent, did a lot of things. And his legacy is that he was a sex freak who locked himself in a bag and died. That's the official story, so that's great. And I'll just say this is my theory. This is where I'm at. What I notice is that through this case, there's a whole lot of, to me, them being the officials thinking we're, the general public, fucking stupid.
Right.
They say, police, don't look into this, and the police get the fucking message. So the police do a shitty job, you know? The police do a shitty job, MI6 does a shitty job, the FBI, I don't really know what they do. At least they said the Russians did it. At least that's a theory.
At least they gave us
US
an
isn't
answer.
saying he locked himself in a bag.
Hey, Mullet Man, how you doing? Thank you. Thank you.
You know? So, throughout the case, what I notice is that someone with a conscience and a desire to know what fucking happened comes out with some sort of information. And they say, I think I know what happened. The coroner puts all of these brilliant thoughts forward. Maybe MI6 did it themselves. We should be open to things like that. And so seeing that, that's when the police say, we're going to do another investigation for the year. They open it back up. They pretend to work. They do nothing. And that's when they decisively say, no, 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 no. Accident. We're not leaving this open-ended anymore. Stop thinking about it. But people keep thinking about it because it's stupid. You know, this Boris Karpykov comes out. He talks about the Russian angle. Now DNA evidence is coming out saying there was a hair in that bag. We can figure out who it was. And the police, again, they go, no, we shut it down. People are outraged. Why would they do this? Corruption, incompetence. They then come out. They say, oh, no, yeah, we'll look into it more. Probably for another fucking 12 months. And then come back out and say, oh, no, you know what? It wasn't him. It was a mannequin. We were mistaken this whole fucking time. He's off living in a prairie.
You know what might be an interesting thing to look at? Maybe we could do one on like assassinations, because like the dude who allegedly, you know, not definitely, killed Robert Kennedy is getting paroled from prison, and his own family, you know, Kennedy's family doesn't actually think he's the guy who killed him and everything. So there's a lot of different things that go into that one. We could do a whole fucking stream just on the weird you know, assassinations and assassination cover-ups and stuff over the years.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it is crazy. I mean, they could have had him just come out just to fucking muddy up the waters too, Boris there. You know?
Yeah, honestly, who knows? Who knows? You have any closing thoughts? I think I got everything out.
I think that's pretty much it. I honestly think it was MI6. That's where I believe. I mean, it could be the Russians, like that makes sense too. But like he was thinking about leaving the job. He was like hacking into stuff off the side. Who knows?
You know, there was that iPhone that got reset to factory settings too.
Right. And like he could have found something that he definitely wasn't supposed to find. Like there's shit that you're not supposed to know. And like if he found something he wasn't supposed to know, they're probably so like disaffected by like killing people at this point when you're at that level that it's probably, well, that's just what we got to do at this point. We can't talk to them or reason with them or anything. We just got to get rid of them. We'll just get rid of them.
And I did hear some people, you know, comment that maybe he was going to turn coat. Just for reference, this was 3 years before Snowden.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Snowden was sort of like the highest profile, I would say, whistleblower. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what, like, I would say if this was after Snowden, maybe that would be more of an angle to talk about. But honestly, we don't know. That's all we have. So can we get a rest in peace, Gareth Williams? And can we at least acknowledge that the man was not a psychic who locked himself in a bag with mind powers?
I definitely acknowledge that. I definitely do. Here, I got a rip in peace. There we go.
God bless. Rip in peace, King.
You know that's
Godspeed wherever you are.
That is the most used, I think, emote that I use, by the way.
It's a pretty good one.
Yeah. I use it the most.
But yeah, so that's that.
I wasn't rage peeing, Wolf, and I offered to FaceTime you in my bathroom, and you didn't take it. So
I actually need to rage pee. So why don't you do an introduction in this next case real fast?
Sounds good.
I'll mute myself real fast. I'm gonna turn my camera off. I hope that doesn't fuck with the overlay.
Nope, you're fine.
We'll see.
You should be fine.
We'll see.
All right.
There we go. Yep, there you go. Just default Skype. Not even a picture of me and Cat ears. Damn shame. Oh well. So, you know, talk to the S real fast, and I'll be back in a moment. The S stands for sauce.
Yeah. He's just gonna pee at his desk. Nothing wrong with that. All right. So that was our first one. It's a fucking doozy. So when we originally had started talking about these, we thought like. We both were like really into the Gareth one. We had done this. We had actually prepped Gareth for last week, but we didn't feel like we had enough time to do both. So we thought we'd lump these two in together, thinking that they'd both be shorter and make up like a typical like 2-hour stream. As we find, it's not really working out that way. So Matt, listen. Okay, let me defend Skype real quick. Skype is perfect for this. So Discord doesn't let you embed the video into Streamlabs. Skype does. So Skype wins. Okay. Discord is a pain in the ass. You can screenshot it and put it into Streamlabs, but you can actually use NDI support, which Discord doesn't fucking have, which is stupid that Discord doesn't fucking have. It should at this fucking point. It's 2021. Why doesn't Discord have NDI? Don't get me started on NDI and Discord. God damn it. Yeah, I think Zoom has it too, but fuck Zoom. I'd rather use Skype. I don't trust Microsoft. Skype is good. Anyway. Okay. Let me just clear up this thing. So our next case is about Jonathan Luna, which I'm going to put up a new set of bullet points here on the screen. All right. Such an angry stream. That stream ain't angry. Stream's happy. We're good. We're fucking good. Hemperor, what's up, man? How you doing? Welcome in. Okay. Hey, bro, I love Skype. Just hate companies are ditching it. It works good for streaming. It's I actually talked to a couple of much larger podcasters. One of which being Billy the Fridge from Drunken Peasants, and he's the one who recommended Skype to me. They're kind of a big deal. So if it's good enough for Billy the Fridge, it's good enough for Peter the Gunn. Okay. Didn't know Skype even still exists. All right, fine. Keep making fun of me. Call me a boomer, everything else. But like I said, if it's good enough for Mr. the Fridge, it's good enough for Mr. the Gunn. Okay, so Jonathan Luna. He was a 38-year-old Filipino lawyer, parents of African-American and Filipino descent from the South Bronx, New York, baby. He was married and had 2 kids, lived in Baltimore, Maryland, where he worked as a assistant U.S. attorney. No, it's okay. I know you weren't making fun of me. So, Jonathan Luna was mysteriously found next to his car, drowned in a creek in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, stabbed 36 times with his own pocket knife after leaving work from the U.S. Attorney's Office at 11:38 p.m. His death was ruled a murder by the coroners that did his autopsy, but the FBI to this day still says it was a suicide. No suspects or motive were ever officially determined in his death. So a man shows up drowned, like he didn't even die from the stabbing. He showed up drowned with 36 stab wounds, one of which was in his carotid artery in his neck, next to his car, like an hour and a half away from where he worked. 36 fucking times with his own pocket knife, right? All right, y'all are making fun of me for using Skype, and Slays is still out here using a fidget spinner. Can we talk about that for a fucking second? Anyway, so Lancaster, Pennsylvania is like the heart of Amish country, and it's about an hour and a half drive from Baltimore. There's no reason to go there for anything. Like, there's never a reason to be in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Maybe it was someone in a clown outfit. I don't think so, but it's always possible. Hey, I'll not tolerate making fun of people with attention problems. All right. Okay, I apologize. Don't cancel me. Okay. So Jonathan Luna's body was found about 5 o'clock in the morning, December the 4th, when a worker over at the Sensing and Weaver Well Drilling Company, Daniel Gemmen, arrived at work. Gemmen went outside to fill the work trucks and with fuel, and he noticed a light in the bushes pretty close to where he was working. So he went and got one of his coworkers. They went over and investigated the light and realized that it was from the dashboard of a running car.
Yes, indeed.
The car was still running, teetering on the edge of a creek, and Gemmen claims he saw blood spatter on the front seat. This account is disputed multiple times, that there wasn't blood on the front seat, that the back seat was full of blood, but it goes to the 2 different theories on how he got there. I mean, I'm not really spoiling anything when I say that when this body shows up dead in the creek stabbed, he either, like I said, it was ruled a possible suicide, so he either drove himself there, stabbed himself in the front seat, and drowned himself in the creek, or somebody else drove him there, right? So depending on where the blood is makes a pretty big difference. This first witness says it was on the front seat. Everybody else says it was on the back seat. So, I mean, let's be real. Humans are like notoriously unreliable when it comes to stuff like that. Like if I just saw a dead body in a creek that had been stabbed 36 times, I would probably get some stuff wrong anyway. So, just saying that. Yes, we are on a news story, Slays. This is not just me telling a random story. This isn't a personal account of mine. I'm not just spinning you a yarn. This is our second case of the night.
Yep.
So he also saw in the car a baby's car seat, blood smeared on the driver's side door and front fender, along with about $200 cash scattered around the inside of the car. Like I said, blood in the front seat would help support the suicide theory, which is one of the official theories, is that he sat at the creek with the car teetering over the edge, stabbed himself, like, while he was like, driving down the road, just stabbing himself driving down the road, got to the creek, got out, fell down in the creek and drowned. That's the official story here. This is the story of Pete's conception. Fucking hope not.
That's right. What I will comment about this case is that really the details of the crime itself are, you would think they wouldn't even be disputable. It's a very ugly crime. It's not poison like the last guy presumably was, or knockout gas and asphyxiation. But, you know, when a person is stabbed to death 36 times, you would think that we would have actual fucking evidence and actual accounts that are solid, and we wouldn't need to hop from source to source guessing which is correct. Because like you said, some accounts say the blood is in the front seat. I heard some say it was in the back seat, too.
Right.
I heard one account that said, oh, well, it seeped through the front seat and rolled to the back seat, which doesn't even make fucking sense. Or maybe it was on the back floor, which would make a little more sense. So I don't understand how this very obvious, like, blatant crime scene has us all scratching our heads, you know? It's very odd.
I'm just typing a few bullet points in here. I got a couple here. Found drowned in a creek, stabbed 36 times with his own knife, 90 minutes from where he started. Okay.
Yeah.
That gives it.
So, yeah, let's, I was listening in, and, yeah, Jonathan Luna, born in Brooklyn, raised there for the most part. I actually wrote down, it's almost like a nursery rhyme, like a Solomon Grundy type of thing. He was born in New York City, worked as an assistant United States attorney in Baltimore. He dies in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. In, like, Dutch countries, Pennsylvania.
In Amish country. It's strange, you know?
Hemper, that's one of the things that they said. Obviously, I know that, like, if you hit that artery, you only have a few minutes to live anyway, and somehow he still died of drowning. Like, that.
Yeah, so that means almost immediately upon being stabbed 36 times. And by the way, this is another thing I tried to find. You know those, like, autopsy sheets where they, like, they circle all the wounds on the body? I couldn't find one for him. That should be, I think, public domain. That should be out there, you know?
Yeah.
I couldn't find anything like that. And it said he was stabbed in the back. He was stabbed, his hands were cut up. He was stabbed, obviously, in the carotid. He was stabbed all over the place.
Unless he was very arachnophobic and a spider was on him and he tried to stab the spider. I mean, it could be, I guess.
Wash it off, wash off the blood. So, yeah, he would have bled out, but he didn't have time to bleed out. He drowned instead.
Right.
Very odd. Much like Gareth Williams, I would like to say Luna was very accomplished. He received an undergraduate degree from Fordham University. He studied at the University of North Carolina School of Law. He worked in Washington, D.C., actually for 2 years for Arnold and Porter, and then for the Federal Trade Commission from 1994 to 1997. And then he became a prosecutor in Brooklyn, and then moved to Baltimore to become an assistant U.S. attorney. So this dude is, like, smart, smart and with a long resume, and an impressive one. He has 2 kids. He has a wife, Angela Hopkins, who's an obstetrician,
right.
I think it is,
yep.
Which has something to do with pregnancy, I think.
Isn't that just an OBGYN?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
So, yeah, it's tied with gynecology.
You look at vaginas, I think.
That's right.
Or is obstetrician
so something
eyes?
To do with that.
That's optometrist, actually. Yeah, it's vaginas.
Yeah.
And he also, another tie-in that he has is he was also having a lot of problems at work. He was not, things weren't going swimmingly for him at work.
No, indeed. He was under a lot of stress at the time. And potentially, that goes at home and at work. We don't really know. I didn't really hear too much about his like home life too much.
No, most of what I have is his involvements with his job and a lot about the trip he took that night. There's a book that was written about this dude called like Jonathan Luna's
Midnight Ride.
That's what it is. Jonathan Luna's Midnight Ride. He took a hell of a fucking trip that went through 1, 2, 3, 4 different states that night. And only ended up an hour and a half away, but he drove for hours and made stops.
Bring it up, actually.
So
show the map. I think
I got it right here. So there's a direct route from here to here that takes an hour and a half. So I went through the step by step. There's a college that did a study on this case, and they have like a really detailed timeline of every stop that he made. And I went through and put it all into the map, and it came out to be about 3 hours and 21 minutes. And it crosses from Maryland, New Jersey, Delaware, and eventually where he dies in Lancaster, Pennsylvania at the drilling company. So,
yeah, he definitely took the long way, the scenic route.
Yes. So,
which is quite interesting because he couldn't have seen anything, but we'll get there.
Yes. Yeah. It's fucking it's nutty.
Yeah. So
they did determine that the knife. So they determined that the knife that killed him was his own, but it didn't show up at the crime scene when they investigated it until they went back 2 months later.
Yep.
Which is pretty sus. Like.
Yep.
It takes 2 months for them to come up with the murder weapon, and it just so happens to be his own pocket knife. And it's just like a regular, like, it's like a small ass buck knife that he killed himself with or was killed with, you know? So.
Yeah. It's kind of a joke, actually, that we're supposed to believe this.
Yeah.
Actually, if you look at an example here, you know what, just Google penknife and it'll come up. You see, it's like flimsy. Some of them don't even lock into place. Like, that's what we're really looking at here. It's a fold-out knife that maybe doesn't even lock, you know?
Right. Which I looked up why it was called a penknife, and do you know that it's because they used to wear them like back in the day when they had like quills and stuff, and they'd use them to like sharpen their quills?
Yeah, I learned that as well.
You know?
It's weird, you know? Kind of cool, though.
Didn't know that.
So, yeah. It's not a pen knife, it's just a pen knife.
Right, which that's a whole other thing. We have a tactical OTF pen blade from Viper Tech. Of course it's from Viper Tech.
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
But yeah.
Airbag went off 37 times, no lie, I seen it. I don't know if that's true.
Here's what we have. By the way, I do have that the coroner did report that he died of stab wounds and drowning, with most stab wounds to the face and mouth.
Which, like, if you're going to stab yourself to death, that's not where you're going to stab yourself. You know what I mean?
They did mention that some of the wounds looked like they might have had hesitation wounds, which is common in suicide. If you're stabbing yourself, some will not go very deep because you'll touch yourself and then jerk away. It's natural reaction, you know. So they did say that there were some hesitation marks, maybe. But at the same time, the knife is very flimsy.
Right.
And I remember, again, I was reading a YouTube comment where a person said, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard that someone would kill someone with a penknife.
Right.
The only thing dumber is that someone would kill themselves with a penknife.
Well, that's like the thing. The whole murder weapon, it doesn't make sense, right? If you're going to kill yourself, you wouldn't do it in the most painful way possible.
Well, speaking of painful way, one Baltimore TV station actually reports a dozen stab wounds were located in the genitals.
That sounds horrible. That's not even going to kill you. That's just going to fuck you up.
So, like, what's weird, though, it says most stab wounds to the face and mouth. Baltimore says dozen to the genitals, 36 overall. So did he stab himself like twice in the back and then all in the face and nuts? Was that really what is that how you kill yourself? One slice to the carotid and then a bunch more to the fucking eyes?
Yeah. Well, to themselves, Heather? I mean, that's crazy. Like, all right, so the thing that with that weapon in general is if you were gonna take this guy out to Lancaster, Pennsylvania and kill him, you would bring a better weapon, right? Like, how would you even know that he had it on him? But if he did it himself, you would think he would also use a better weapon. Like, it's a dumb weapon to use.
I agree.
It's like killing somebody. It's like killing yourself by putting yourself in a duffel bag.
Exactly. So what I have here, I did find somebody put together a nice chronology, I would say, of events leading up to his death. Which only goes, really, when was he found dead? December 4th. So this only goes to the night previous, or the morning hours previous, I guess.
Right.
So the night of December 2nd, he allegedly, is all I can say because I don't actually have proof, but allegedly he was in the hospital with his infant son all night.
Right. Late to court the next morning.
Exactly. He was actually fined by the judge just $25 for showing up late, and he apologized that he showed up late to court and that he was at the hospital all night. So then, that day, there was the conclusion of the case he was working on, which is called the Walter Poindexter case, which Walter Poindexter sort of sounds like a guy who would get shoved in a locker, you know, back in like the 1950s. But that was what was that? Was that the heroin case?
Yes.
The rap
So
case?
it's both. They were, there was actually two men that were arrested they were both rappers, and they were busted for selling heroin. So what he was working on that day was a plea agreement to these guys. So what I had read was that the punishment that they got was actually pretty light. So them being a possible suspect in killing him doesn't really make sense. Like, he kind of let them off wicked easy on the whole thing.
Yeah, the prosecution that he was leading sort of lied down and was like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll accept that plea agreement.
Yeah.
After that, case concludes. He goes home. And then, after about nearly 3 hours, actually, they say he goes back to the office to draw up a plea agreement.
Yep.
So, essentially, it is agreed upon in court that night, or that evening. He goes home, spends a few hours home, and then goes back to actually make the plea official.
Yep. While he's there, he makes some phone calls.
He makes a phone call to Poindexter's attorney, a man by the name of Timonelli, apparently. And it says here that the attorney states that Luna told him he had to go home and would be back in his office in the federal courthouse in Baltimore later.
He was supposed to...
Timonelli did not know where or when really Luna placed that call, but he knows that it lasted about 10 minutes.
Right.
So actually they list the location as Luna's office ? Because he told his wife that he was going back to his office, but was he? You know?
So he was supposed to...
Especially because on the phone, he says, I'll be back at my office later. So
he was supposed to fax over the plea agreement to him by midnight that night, which doesn't ever arrive.
Exactly. So 24 minutes after that call, about 9:30 p.m., again, the location has a question mark on it where it says Luna's home / office ? And it says that Luna leaves a voice message on attorney Ravenelli's phone, Ravenel, who's the other attorney. Both of them, so there were two rappers who were being tried sort of together, but they each had their own attorney.
Right.
So he leaves a voicemail message to the other one saying, hey, I'm going to fax a plea agreement later. 10:30, it says defendant's attorney says he talked to Luna at about 10:30 and expected fax before midnight, and it never arrives. At this point, we go back to Luna's home.
Moby, the body was found about 5 a.m. the next morning. So there's the timeline isn't going to be every 20 minutes. There's a few big pieces, and then it kind of gets a little hazier.
So we're having some weird things where it says at 8:48 he returns to the office, and then nobody really knows where he is. But then 11 he's home, and he tells his wife, "Hey, I'm going back to the office."
Right. Before he does that too, it says that he receives a phone call that he doesn't know. Blue with the raid.
Welcome in.
How y'all doing? Just in time for the start of the second case. How was your stream, Blue? That's the Closet Dude's burner. Could be. I have such a long raid song.
That's fine.
So it did say that his wife said that he received a call at 11 o'clock. Right? Are we at 11 o'clock?
Yep.
So at
yep.
11 o'clock, Luna receives a call, and after hanging up, tells his wife that he needs to go back to the office. So, like, the phone records for this call have never been released. This isn't that long ago. Like, we have the technology. We had the technology then. I remember back in high school when I had a cell phone, which was before this. I would get a fucking, like, quarter-inch thick stack of papers mailed to me every single month that had every single text message and phone call I made on it. So, like, you know that the phone records are kept. So that's a little sus to me. There's a few things here that are left out that just don't really seem to
and that's what I'm saying. They're like, this case should be fucking simple because this is 2003. This dude is a federal worker, you know. He's on the side of the justice system,
right?
You know, this is post 9/11. There should be cameras again all over the place, you'd think.
Right. 2 years after 9/11.
And it even says, so after 11 p.m. at his home, he departs for the office. Then it says 11:38 p.m. His car leaves the parking garage. There's no note of when it gets there.
Yes.
So we don't even know how long he was at the parking garage because we don't know. How don't we know? How do we know when someone leaves a parking garage but not when they enter?
Yeah. That's wicked fucking weird.
That's fucking weird. And then it goes on about this journey he takes. Would you like to talk about what he doesn't take with him, or should we list that later? I think let's say what he left at the office.
Yes. So
he goes to the office. His car gets there whenever, and he's supposed to be drawing up this plea agreement and faxing it over to the defense. Instead, he doesn't, and he leaves without some important things.
Yeah, he leaves behind his cell phone, his laptop, and his glasses, which were required for him to drive, all behind at his office.
So much for the scenic route idea.
Right. So, like, he isn't going to be able to see when he drives, at least, like, not well. Like, all right, so even if you're just mildly impaired visually, right, you can still see for the most part-ish. You know what I mean? If you were planning on taking some crazy drive, or even if you're just driving home, like, you would have got in the car, you would have went to put your glasses on and realized you didn't have them and went back up and got them. Like, 100% of the time, I'm pretty sure you're going to do that.
Yeah, you know? I'd agree.
Like,
it's very strange, especially because he's driving at night. You would think you would especially need glasses when it's dark. You don't have the sun to aid you.
Right.
So I don't know. I tried to find how bad his vision really was. Like, could he not drive without his glasses, or could he not drive without his glasses?
Right.
You know, like, and I couldn't find out like how bad his eyesight really was. But that's what we got there, right?
Right.
So yeah, he leaves the cell phone, the laptop, his glasses behind, and his car leaves at 11:38, and he takes this beautiful journey.
Yeah.
Through 4 states.
10 minutes later,
Amish country.
He's on I-95. So, like, I did my best. I might have gotten some stuff wrong because, like, I couldn't put in exactly the wording that they use on the timeline for everything. But he leaves and he goes straight for I-95, right? Which is the the main route. You could actually have gotten there. Like, he could have just stayed pretty much on, like, 95 to, like, one more route or whatever and gotten there, like, perfectly. He didn't have to go through fucking 4 states to do it. So
then there's a few checkpoints that are circled.
Right.
So he leaves the parking garage. 11 minutes later, he passes through a toll booth. He actually hits a ton of toll booths on his way.
Right.
He goes through a toll booth, northbound on I-95. We know that. Midnight, 11 minutes later, Tuminelli is expecting to receive a fax of the plea agreement. Never arrives. 28 minutes after that, at 12:28 a.m., now on the 4th of December, we are in Perryville, Maryland, and his car passes through a toll booth there, still heading north.
Mm-hmm.
About 18 minutes later, he hits another toll plaza, still heading north. This way this time at the Delaware Line toll, it says.
Is this at 12:57?
12:46, that is. Then 12:57, he passes through Newark, Delaware. And at this point, he actually withdraws $200 from an ATM from Exxon at Travel Plaza, using his debit card.
Which $200 was found in the back of his car, scattered around too. So, and no cameras in the garage of the federal building. No cameras on.
That's
any
what
of
I'm
this
saying.
shit.
And meanwhile, might I add, toll booths should have cameras as well.
Right. There's
And
always a camera at the toll booth.
There's some more weird shit about the toll booths, but we'll finish his journey first, his midnight ride. So 12:57, he withdraws $200 from an ATM. Presumably, the same $200 that would be scattered around his car or the crime scene.
Right.
I believe all 200 were accounted for, right?
Yeah, that's what I read, is that the $200 they took from the ATM was found in the back of the car.
Very strange. Well, right, Hemp. That's a good point. It's a red herring, makes it look like a robbery, but what type of robber leaves the money behind?
Right. All the money.
Because they find that $200, it's accounted for. Which makes it strange. Very strange. Because you could totally make this a frame job.
Yeah.
But, yeah, very odd. So then 1:45 a.m., we're at the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and it's the earliest time that Luna's car could have entered the Pennsylvania Turnpike, just based on later times that are proven. So we don't really know how long he was, how long this stop was, but by 1:45 a.m. he had left. At about 2:37 a.m. approximately, his car enters the New Jersey Turnpike. At 2:47 a.m. in a town called King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, which doesn't even sound real, quite frankly, but it is. His car enters the Pennsylvania Turnpike off the Delaware Bridge, the Delaware River Bridge. 3:20 a.m. still in King of Prussia.
Which, like,
his
he's
debit
driving
card,
through, like, he's, like, heading towards major cities at this point, right? So, like,
yeah.
he's gone, like, right up towards Camden. He's going right up past and, like, through Philly at this point. Like, he's going through, like, he's not, like, taking it's not a smart route. It doesn't take you out into the sticks. The sticks is the other way. Like, he's heading into, like, cities. You know what I mean?
Right. Almost wanting to be seen, in my opinion. It's
Yeah.
kind of strange.
I've been there
He's not
too, Matt.
acting like a person who wants to stay off the radar, that's for
Right.
sure. Or get to his location as quickly as possible. Then at 3:20, his debit card is used at a Sunoco station to buy gas and possibly for another ATM withdrawal. I don't know why possibly, because there should be receipts of that. Like I'm saying, this should be the most well-documented case possible.
They said that the ATM
Right.
camera was broken at that ATM.
Convenient. Very convenient. Just like how there's, no cameras in the gas stations.
Right.
No cameras at the at the parking garage. No cameras
Nobody
at the
saw
toll
him
booths,
at any of these stops other than one.
Right. Then we'll get back again to the toll booths because it gets stranger. It's not just cameras. 3:30 a.m. A Roy Rogers restaurant manager at a rest stop says she sees Luna. The FBI, who's involved in this, because of course they are, the FBI, we'll get to them. But just know that they've been involved in this case since the start.
Right.
And they say, no, she's wrong. She didn't see anyone. She didn't see Luna. That's a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is.
I mean,
404.
it's hard. That one's a little tough to fit into the timeline too. I mean, unless he just like pulled in, did something, maybe took a piss out the side of the car or whatever and left. But like, he wouldn't have had time for none of that chicken or whatever they sell it. Oh, that's Kenny Rogers. I don't know what they sell at Roy Rogers, but he wouldn't have time for it.
Now, it's at this point, I guess, this is actually a good point to bring it up because the chronology actually brings it up. We actually know. I thought I'd have to guess. Up until this point, he's been using the Easy Pass in his car through the tolls.
Right.
The Easy Pass, of course, is something you just stick into your car, right? You pay for it. And it allows you to go through tolls without stopping, typically, or at least without, like, actually stopping. You slow down a little bit. It registers you, pays for it automatically. You get billed,
Yeah, it takes
right?
it out of your bank account or whatever. You can load them and charge them or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Up until now, he's been using his Easy Pass. At this point, he stops using his Easy Pass. He starts going through the toll booths themselves and paying people. And usually, toll booths are operated by human beings who should see things. I don't hear any interviews that are conducted with these toll booth operators who was working that night. Nobody even that says anything about, like, I didn't even hear where they were looked into.
Right.
It's one thing if they said, no, I don't remember anything from that night. But I didn't even see where they were asked. And that pisses me off, Seems weird. Furthermore, regarding the toll booth operators, it would be really, really, easy. It would be quick and simple for a toll booth operator to come out and say, "Oh yeah, I saw him. He was driving alone."
Right. And this was 10
thumbs
years
up, case closed.
10 years ago too. Like there was more
Right.
people manning toll booths back then than there is now.
Right. 2003. This is
Right.
So yeah, ages. At this point. So yeah, his his car exits the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and a paper ticket is turned into a toll collector, even though Luna's car has an easy pass. What's interesting is that this paper ticket has a blood spot on it, which is later confirmed to be Luna's blood.
Right.
That's just interesting. And, maybe we'll come back to that, maybe not, but just keep that in mind, I guess. So somebody rolled up and handed a bloody ticket to a toll booth operator, and the toll booth operator, I guess, just didn't notice, didn't pay attention.
Right.
And
And-
it was dark. I thought they just pissed on it. They stuck it in their mouth. I don't know. That's weird.
And like here's the all right, so by this point we're pretty close to like where he dies, right? So like
Yeah.
if he was driving down the freaking road stabbing himself with a penknife, you know what I mean? I think that somebody would have noticed it, especially stopping at toll booths. There's traffic at toll booths, even at 4:00 in the morning. Like you're going through, like you're in major ass cities, and up until you get to like freaking where he dies, like you're going through major cities. They would have noticed
Exactly.
either a guy dying in the back or a guy stabbing himself with a penknife as he drove down the road.
Exactly. And there's nothing found in the trunk, obviously. So that's sort of something, it's interesting at the very least.
Yeah.
Now, one thing to note, too, is that because he's no longer using an easy pass, we no longer have accurate times as to his moves.
Right.
When he was using an easy pass, you have billings at certain times at each of these checkpoints, which is how we have such an accurate ride that he took. At this point, it's sort of guesswork because he's paying in cash. Again, there should be cameras, you'd think. There should be people. There should be a lot more spottings of Jonathan Luna along the path, even if it is in the early hours in the morning or the late hours of the night. But there's not.
Right.
There's one person who says she saw him, and the FBI says she didn't. So that's what we got. So sometime after 4:05 a.m. in Denver, Pennsylvania, Luna was alive when his car entered the parking lot and pulled up to the creek, according to the coroner.
Right. After driving 180 miles and 3 hours and 21 minutes for a trip that
Without
should
his
take an hour and a
glasses
half. Without his
that night.
glasses. And I did put in if you put it all on MapQuest and go from the time he left his office to the time where they're saying that he was found, it does match time wise. 3 hours and 21 minutes if he left at 11:38 would have him getting there if he left at midnight ish. Yeah, around midnight. It'd be pretty close to the right amount of time,
Absolutely. 5:30 is like you opened up with. His car is discovered. His body is found. And that's really it. 9:30 a.m. He was supposed to be in court. So some people were saying, he's meeting up with a sexy time, right?
Right.
Well, it's kind of weird for him to blow off work, not only that night, but also in the morning, because there's no way he would get there at 4 a.m., do what he had to do, and drive all the way back in time for 9:30 court appointment.
Right.
That's just not feasible,
Wes asked if he had contacts, which is like maybe he put contacts in at the office, but it said that he used
Well, the
his
coroner
glasses
would
to
have
drive.
told us that.
That's true. The coroner did not mention the glasses.
And what's interesting is that then after 9:30, at a shopping mall all the way back in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, his credit card is used.
OTJ, how you doing?
So at this point, he's been dead for hours. His credit card is used, and that is everything.
Which, if you remember, he did use his card in King of Prussia at a gas station at 3:30 that morning. So
Yep.
it fits that his card could have ended up there. Like, he could have lost his card. Like, I'm playing both sides of this here. Suicide and murder. If it was a suicide, he could have just dropped his card. Maybe he gave his fucking card to a random ass homeless person before he decided he was going to kill himself. Said, "Fuck my wife and her bank account. Here's my debit card. Have fun. You got about 6 hours till they find the body. Like, have a field day,
Yep. Yeah, and it is odd. I will say that, the other cards were found in his wallet that was on him.
Right.
And all of the money that he withdrew, the $200, he did make another withdrawal apparently, which we don't know what for, but all of his money is scattered. Was it inside the vehicle or outside?
It says it was scattered across the back seat.
Okay. So where there might be blood.
Right. Where there either is a whole shit ton of blood, or just like a little bit of blood, or
and we don't know.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a flashback. Yo, no problem, Dan.
Dan,
Thanks
have
for
a good
coming out.
night. Thanks for hanging out.
I am going to give you guys a little bit. Get your rip emotes up, because I think the car and the door might have ran off together because nobody knows where his fucking car is. How do you lose a fucking door? How do you lose a fucking car that someone was killed in? Dude!
As we go on here, like it. Thanks, Heather. As we go on here, it makes it more clear how people used to be able to get away with murder and how they are less likely to now. Like, it seems like if you just follow the basic steps that you need to do, don't lose the evidence, write people's names down, and check the cameras.
2003. This isn't 1920.
Yeah, you should be able to fucking catch the guy. Like, back in the day, in like the fucking 1800s, I see how people got away with murders. These days, you shouldn't. Rip the car and the door. Thank you. Hold on, this sounds like that shitty old creepypasta. Which one?
But who was phone?
What is it?
No, I'm just fucking around. I don't know.
Yeah, they
We'll
lost
wait.
the car. Was it a 94 Escort?
Yeah!
Oh, man.
The man with the hook hand.
That's right. It could be.
Dude.
Maybe it wasn't a pet knife
yeah.
after all.
Again, we should have... I mean, you can look around. There are some gruesome crime scene photos. There's a lot of shit out there, you know? There's a lot of shit out there. There's a lot of all of this, right? The problem that I have with this whole... Where do I even fucking start? You lose a car. There's no photographs. There's no bank records. There's no camera footage. There's not even grainy camera footage. There's no witnesses that said I was working a toll booth. I don't remember anything.
Right.
It's just infuriating to me, again, that nobody seems to care. It's the same thing with Williams. You have the FBI who roll up and immediately take the reins on this case.
Right.
Because it's across state lines and it's a prosecutor, you know? Because a guy drove across 4 states and winds up dead, the FBI get involved, of course.
Which they should. I mean, even just being the
Yeah.
fact that he's like, assistant district attorney or whatever, they should be involved.
Right, exactly. And it's just all of that. It's just all of that. So the FBI are involved. This guy's a prosecutor. Again, you would think the law takes care of itself, and yet nobody seems to fucking give a shit.
Is doing this making you more happy that you didn't join the criminal justice field, or?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh,
Because, apparently if you want to do good work, right?
you gotta be a
Who gives a
coroner
shit?
if you want to be
Who
doing
gives
work.
a shit? Exactly. Who cares?
Oh man, yeah.
So yeah, that's it for the timeline. That's what we've got. So, you take us wherever, I'll throw in comments.
All right.
Because like I said, this was like your
Yes.
case.
So the stab wounds, like we said, are pretty interesting. One corner says that there were hesitation wounds on Luna, and then another corner says, nah, those weren't actually hesitation wounds. You know what I mean? They're saying that like there was one corner says there's defensive wounds on his body. The other corner says, no, those weren't defensive wounds. So like there's two corners working on here that are have opposing views of what's going on here.
And that's not uncommon. Coroners, there's a real problem in the justice system, actually, of coroners who are not qualified to be coroners, who are coroners.
Right.
So you're going to get a lot of disagreements.
There was even one coroner, like the first one in Lancaster, who said that he was actually shot in this case.
Yeah, there was a bullet wound found.
Yeah.
And then they say, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's false.
And he was like, well, he was shot, but he declined to say the cause of death here,
Mm-hmm. They find a wound on his head. Then they say, no, that was just from falling into the creek.
Right.
They say a lot of things. They say a lot of things.
The Baltimore...
The defensive wounds, by the way, the theory that he did stab himself is that he had his penknife. The penknife doesn't lock, it closes, and so as he's stabbing himself in this frenzy, the penknife is closing on his hands. Why would you... All right, that's just brutal. All right, that's a brutal way to kill yourself. You're stabbing yourself in the back, in the face, in the genitals. The whole time the knife is closing on you, cutting up your fingers, your knuckles, your hands.
Is Blue right about that? Is being a coroner an elected position?
Yes.
What? Why do we elect a coroner? Well, you mean I could be a coroner?
Yeah, pretty sure. No, you don't have to go to med school for it. At least not everywhere.
Huh. PeteGunn, coroner. Hell yeah, I like the sound of that. I could have a whole new fucking thing on TikTok with that. If you had a psychotic break, it's possible. I mean, if you're gonna kill yourself out in the middle of nowhere, like bring a garden, and you have your car, just bring a garden hose, right? Pop it in the freaking window. It'd be the easier way to go.
It's a very odd way. It was almost, whoever killed him, even if it was him, wanted him to suffer.
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
So, which there's some tie-in to all that as well. Would be better than bouncing your balls on camera, Pete. I thought that was a funny TikTok. Whatever. Follow me on TikTok. Also, if you don't already follow Nick on Twitch, make sure you do.
That's true. I'm here. I'm there too.
Boom. All right. So
now I've been seeing a few people who, we can just sort of toss everything out because I don't have anything, necessarily in order because all of this shit just got thrown, out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of a mess in this case.
Yeah, mostly all I have at this point is a bunch of different like facts tied with different theories on what could have happened with this whole thing.
Yeah, so first off, let's talk the sexual deviancy angle again, because that ties in with Williams, and that was something that was pushed, I think.
Right.
And it's something that people even brought up before. He has a burner. He's going to meet someone. Maybe it's a gay lover. Maybe it's just a woman on the side.
Well, they said that the location where he was which it seems a little sus. They say that
In
this
Amish
is like a spot where people go to hook up with like people they meet online. It's like, why would you drive all the way out to the fucking Amish country? Like,
yep.
I mean, I know that those like Amish girls got like those strong forearms from all that butter churning. Like they could probably do some things, but like
milking the cow,
Yeah, I mean they got that grip. It's all about that grip.
Right. And it's true. I don't know who actually publicized that, but I do have a note here that says that local authorities actually disagreed with that.
Right.
Local authorities came out and said that is not a sexual hookup spot. Stop.
Well,
stop talking.
It was the Sensing and Weaver well drilling company. Maybe they were drilling more than wells there.
Drilling you well.
Hey.
Then of course you have the fact that they went there, they cataloged the crime scene, they searched the crime scene, and don't find the weapon. And then 6 weeks later, his own penknife just is there.
Right.
It's just there, isn't it? Just sitting there.
Yeah, they just find it easily when they come back. As far as the sexual deviancy angle goes, though, they said that he had possibly killed himself over being $25,000 in debt due to a credit card that he had linked to an adult cam site that his wife didn't know about. Which, like, $25,000 when your wife is a obstetrician, you're a successful lawyer. It's like, that's not that much money, right?
It seems odd.
And also, I mean,
25,000 isn't you're gonna fucking ruin your life,
right? It also said that he had several credit cards that his wife didn't know about, which also doesn't seem to be a big deal. I couldn't tell you what bank any of my girlfriends have fucking banked at. Like, I don't know how many credit cards they have. Maybe it's different when you're married and like all the finances of your partner. I don't fucking know. I ain't married. I don't have kids. Nobody wants to trust me with that information. So like, I don't know. Like I didn't think that was very relevant, but they said that he had like secret credit cards, $25,000 in debt, on an adult cam site. He also had like multiple accounts on hookup sites, so they were kind of going down that angle, and like,
or at least his name did.
Right.
I'll say
That's true. $25K is just change anyway. That's true. It's a handful of quarters.
Because I'll say this.
That's
right?
true. That's what this feeling
Okay.
is.
Cool beans. Onward ho.
Exactly.
Let's talk to the trees.
That's true.
Grizzlies changed their mind to it's the wife now.
The wife, all right. You know, like the wife would have had to hire someone.
Right.
But yeah, it's just it's the name that bothers me, right? So yeah, his name is on adult dating sites, but it's kind of strange to me because you would think that in a case like this, again, you track down leads, you have access to his cell phones and his cell phone records. If he did have a burner, you know, we know who he was getting a call from that night. We're supposed to, at least. And yet I'm not hearing anything. I'm not hearing anything about well, you know, Biscuit, I don't think she hitchhiked back at 5 a.m. That's the only thing.
She was home with the kids.
You know?
And like a
She
sick
was home
baby.
with the kids. But, you know, like, it's just, there should be so much more evidence. And there's not. There should be witnesses. There should be a woman or women or something. And there's not.
Right.
There's not even seemingly an attempt to track down who he was supposed to be meeting that night. Because what happens is the coroner comes out and says this was murder, right?
Yep.
But then who says it's a suicide?
The FBI says it's a suicide.
Yeah. The FBI steps in, says clean it up, pack it up, boys. We figured it out. He killed himself. Don't look any more into it.
Yeah. Fell down the stairs and onto a pile of bullets that ended up lodging into his brain.
That's all I'm saying.
Got stabbed for every time he cheated.
Well, that's an interesting point, actually. Do you want to bring up the $36,000?
Right. So he was having some trouble at work. He was actually being investigated for an old bank robbery case that he worked about a year prior, where $36,000 had gone missing, and he was a prime suspect for that missing money, which $36,000, 36 stab wounds. One thought is that he stabbed himself one time for each of those $1,000 that he had stolen out of guilt, and that's why he killed himself. Another theory is that he was stabbed for one of each of those $36,000 that he stole, and that's why he was killed. So
Yeah.
$1,000 per
Another
stab.
thing, though, that I found out is that maybe it's just more media bullshit trying to publicize something, and he actually lost $38,100, but that didn't sound as good in the fucking headlines.
Yeah, that's true. That is what they said.
I don't know who I'm more pissed at in this, law enforcement or media.
The media fucking fucks this all up. The FBI does some skeezy shit in this, though, right? So
It's a very odd thing. It's very odd to me that they would step in. All right, let's just keep going.
So it's also speculated that FBI informants, not the FBI, but the FBI informants might have been to blame for the killing. The main witness in the case of the convicted heroin dealer had broken multiple conditions of his protected witness arrangement. He got busted with heroin. He was caught removing his electronic monitoring device, and Luna...
He was still actively selling heroin while working as an FBI informant.
Right. And Luna didn't disclose any of this to the defense, to the court. He also didn't even disclose the fact that this chief witness was a protected informant to the court. So, like, he did fuck up a little bit here.
A lot of it.
So
with an FBI witness.
Right. And apparently the judge had scolded him in court over this whole thing. There were allegations that there was a lot of mishandling of this informant, that Luna was helping to cover up the FBI's ass in this case, too. So the FBI might have been like, well, he knows too much. He already has covered for us. It's time to get rid of him. Or that this FBI informant was blackmailing Luna to help cover up a lot of his bullshit as well. So there's a lot of back and forth. Could go either way. That's why, like, where the blood is in the car makes such a big difference, and the car is missing now. So, like, we don't know. Like, that's the one thing that would, like, clear this up. If the blood was in the back seat, he was killed. If the blood was in the front seat, he killed himself, right? Like, and the car is gone. Car's with the door.
You'd think that the police would notice the penknife sitting out in the open.
Right. He's got mountains of debt from sex secrets. He's on cheating website. He's being investigated for stealing from this case. This sounds like a good reason to fucking crack and go batshit. Maybe. Will the ending poll involve Bill Clinton again?
I hope so.
I don't know if I can tie this one back to the Clintons.
No, I didn't see Slick Willie.
So, or maybe it is suicide. Maybe after getting caught for lying in court, covering up the details about the witnesses, he did finally snap and killed himself. And all the failures at work and all the other things that had eventually come out about him were enough to make him kill himself out of shame. Or maybe it's a media smear campaign.
Yes, indeed. I will say I find it very, very interesting. And it's just the FBI angle interests me. The location interests me. The lack of witnesses and evidence interests me. And all I'm saying is that I'm a bit skeptical as to the personal attack angle, simply because if it were a personal attack angle, I think the FBI would have solved it like that.
Ari says, why would he pay with cash on the roads if he wanted to kill himself? There's no reason to cover up your tracks if you're trying to kill yourself.
Why withdraw the $200 just to spray it around?
Right.
Seems like a message.
That's right. Doesn't make any fucking sense.
In fact, it almost, if I were to kill someone ceremoniously like that, that would be my way of saying it's not about the money, it's something else. It's personal.
That's
spray money all over the corpse. I don't want your money.
It sounds like you've thought about that one.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, and I'm going to say, we're talking about stabbing as personal, right? Stabs to the genitals indicate sexual things. How do we know any of that? Because the FBI invented fucking behavioral forensics and invented profiling and said, hey, usually stabbings are personal. Usually wounds to the genitals are personal. So if the FBI wants to kill you and make it look personal, they know what a personal attack looks like.
Fucking good point. There's more FBI connections to reasons why the FBI would actually have this dude whacked.
I would also say I would like to throw a little more behind my FBI theory. It's kind of interesting. Why would he drive across 4 state lines to kill himself?
Right.
Maybe so that the FBI would, without question, have jurisdiction.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
They could step in right away because they're not allowed to, usually. But that gives them jurisdiction.
So if they dragged his ass all across all these state lines and brought him up to fucking Dutch country to the Weaver well drilling company and killed him in a ditch.
It's no longer a local matter. It's no longer a state matter. It's a federal matter.
Bro.
That's our case.
I need the Law and Order dun 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 fucking sound effect. I have the X-Files. I don't have the Law and Order one. So
why would the FBI do such a bad job? That's a great question. Well, it hasn't been solved. So, pretty good job, I guess.
So,
it was messy, though, I agree.
The FBI actually were looking at themselves during this, too. Like, they investigated themselves, which seems sus as well. There was evidence that Luna, I'll say, with quotation marks, that Luna may have had a romantic situation going on with an FBI a federal agent.
Yeah.
And that could have led to the whole thing, and then that's why the FBI was covering up, to cover one of their own, to take care of their own ass.
Very odd, too. Very odd. And from what I heard, that probe, but someone else, who analyzed that probe said it was done terribly. The FBI investigated themselves terribly, completely unprofessional.
Right. I don't know. They'd want it to be as clean as possible so that there wouldn't be a bunch of people talking about it on the internet all the time.
Well, true. But then again, the government releases all sorts of nasty shit. We should not know about stuff like, Project Mockingbird or MK Ultra or anything like that. And yet they release the documents. So
freedom of information, right? We're supposed to get told about it after a certain amount of time.
So why don't they just burn that shit? It would certainly be convenient for us to not know about it.
Well, with MK Ultra, most of that stuff was destroyed.
Well, right.
They did find some of it.
Why do we even know its name to begin with?
Right. That would be that's one I actually did last year. I did do a stream on MK Ultra. That was a fun ride.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems though like after Luna's dead, they do a pretty specific job of painting another bad picture of the guy, right? They make it out to be that he was a bad lawyer, that he was lying about stuff, that he was hiding stuff, that he had stolen evidence, he was a thief, he was a sex addict, he was in debt, he fucking hated his wife, he was cheating on her, like all this stuff that comes out like afterwards. It's like, man, I really hope I don't die in like a fantastic way like this, because so much, like, I don't want people like smearing my name worse than it is. I want people going onto these streams and like clipping things I've said out of like context and like leaking that, like where I say something fucked up, that where like they cut the part where it says like, I'm not the type of guy to, like, I don't know, eat people and drink virgin blood for my life force or whatever, you know. Blame Pete. Thanks. So there was also another blood sample in the car too that they found that they said was not Luna's, but the DNA evidence on that is also missing.
Yep. So
that's gone as well. Pete, I promise you, if you die, that I'll personally get your shit deleted. Thank you very much. It's also been speculated that he was killed by somebody in the drug business. Like, dude, the FBI shuts down every private investigation that tries to look into this case. So like, you can't find out like anything about it. Like, anytime anybody tries to do anything, or like family tries to like look up and hire somebody to investigate this case, it just does not go through.
Hemp brings up an interesting theory that the wife did it and the FBI sort of covered up for her, because if she was brought into court, some nasty shit would come out.
Could be.
From what I did hear, I did sort of... the impression I got, I guess, is that he was sort of a clean guy working in a dirty trade. That being a prosecutor in Baltimore, you're supposed to look the other way on a lot of things. You're supposed to be involved in a lot of shady deals, and Luna was not very enthusiastic about that.
So I had been to Baltimore in the early 2000s, and it was a rough fucking city. Grace with the sexy sax. If we ever get up to a point where I can monetize these on YouTube, I have to remove the sexy sax.
Yeah. Blue makes a good point, though. What does the wife know that the FBI wouldn't just kill her, too?
That's true.
In fact, a murder-suicide would be perfect. Have her drive them both out to Dutch country, kill them both, you know? Bam, clean. This is what they taught us in criminal justice school, how to, you know, commit filthy acts, you know?
They probably did, right? Like, they probably told you, like, all the shit that you need to know.
Yeah, sure.
If you take, like, the information they're giving you and you twist it and use it in other ways, right?
They certainly taught me to be a better criminal.
That's what I mean, right? Like, so, I mean, I feel like watching CSI Miami has taught me to be a better criminal. You know?
Yeah, his hands had wounds on them.
Mm-hmm.
They even said some of the wounds went to the bone.
I can't imagine, like, it's short of being on, like, they didn't release a drug test on him or anything. I can't imagine, short of being on like some crazy fucking drug, that I could ever, or anybody could ever, stab themselves to death like that.
And at least with Gareth Williams, they did release a toxicology report.
Right.
In this, it seems like the coroners weren't very interested in the truth.
Yeah, no, they didn't want to know.
Or at least they were not in agreement of what the truth was.
Yeah. They also said that there's another angle that says that he was killed by somebody in the drug trade too. Like,
yes,
even though like the people that he was involved with got a pretty light sentence, it's possible that the heroin dealer that he was protecting for whatever reason or covering up, maybe he at that point had enough. Maybe he did the same thing that, you know, Gareth did, where he was like, I'm gonna go tell everybody the truth, and then ends up getting taken out for it.
Well, yeah, and it wouldn't be the first person involved in this case to be involved in something dirty like that. Did you find the new reports on Kenneth Ravenel, the defense attorney?
No.
Kenneth Ravenel, a friend and mentor to Luna, I believe, has just been prosecuted for corruption by dealing with a Jamaican kingpin. Pretty sure. Let me pull it up. Let me see exactly what it says.
Just read that, Matt?
This just came out like a year ago. In fact, I'll link it. It's very interesting. Very interesting. Alleged racketeering conspiracies, money laundering again comes up, drug trafficking. The U.S. government certainly does turn a blind eye to certain drug people if it benefits them, you know?
Right.
It's certainly not anti-drugs so long as the people dealing them are, you know, allied to us in some capacity, or useful, I guess, however you want to state it.
Oh, the
and
U.S.
it's very interesting to me that a guy literally right next to Luna. In fact, I believe Ravenel was also responsible for the $38,100 going missing with Luna. It was like a mishandling of evidence.
Yeah, it seems like he's up to some shady shit here. So, he's accused of schooling drug clients on how to use burner phones and other methods to avoid law enforcement detective. Ravenel instructed members of the conspiracy to remove batteries from their cellular devices and leave their phones outside meetings held to discuss illegal activities in order to prevent such meetings, including meetings held within the offices of the law firm from being recorded by law enforcement. So, I mean...
Yeah, and remember, his laptop and his phone were left in his office.
Blue thinks Luna is dirty. I mean, maybe.
And that's a fair statement, honestly. Who's to say he didn't botch this shit with the FBI informant on purpose, just to get the other two guys off? You make the case unprosecutable, then they get an easy plea arrangement, you know?
Right. I mean, there's been documented cases of the U.S. government, selling drugs to different communities to upend like social unrest and things like that, and to stop revolutions and all that. There was a lot of crazy stuff. Like, I think people forget like what the political climate was in 2003 in this country. Like, people were pretty fucking pissed off. Like, shit was fucked up. It was crazy. There was a lot of weird shit going on back then. It was a weird time. He may have been dirty, but the details of the murder scream wife. You think wife? I'm going to run to the bathroom. Do you want to do a poll?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can move to poll.
All right.
Yeah, let's see what sort of theories we got. So let's see. What happened to Luna? I guess I'll say. What happened to Luna? Offed himself, I guess. I doubt suicide is allowed. Let's see. Wife did it. Maybe another lover did it, was theorized, right? Another lover did it. The FBI did it. Or, I guess, criminals did it. That's what I'll state. Those are our choices. So there we go. Did he off himself? Did his wife do it? Was he meeting a lover there that night and she or he did it? Did the FBI do it themselves? Bill Clinton might have done it. Or was it these criminals who either related to the cases he was working or perhaps a case from his past that came back to haunt him? The parents say criminals did it. Yeah, it's just very interesting. And it's tough. FBI cover-up, I definitely think, is a possibility. Whether the FBI did it themselves, in fact, I don't think the FBI did it themselves. I agree with you because it was so badly done. I do have a bit of a theory about the Easy Pass and the toll booth, which I'll throw out, in a moment here. But, another point of credit to the criminals theory is that criminals certainly have hate. They certainly have hate for being prosecuted, and they would want you to die a bad fucking death. You know what I mean? Welcome back.
I'm back. Yes.
Oh no, yeah, it was considered to be a pool of blood. I think I saw him.
So we got the poll at the top of the chat. We got 4 votes for criminals, 3 for the FBI, 0 for another lover, 0 for the wife, and 1 for offed himself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna vote.
Yeah, I did as well.
I think it was the FBI.
I'm going with criminals, but an FBI cover-up.
Could be.
Now, here's my theory about the Easy Pass real fast.
Yep.
I mean, there's a few. Honestly, so much of what I say is speculation because we don't have hard facts. The investigation was lazy. There's nothing to go off of here, unfortunately. We know the route he took.
Right.
We know roughly the times he took it. Now, it's possible that maybe he was forced to drive. right? If you're forced to drive somewhere and you know you might be executed, you're being kidnapped, right? Maybe he's ambushed in the garage, like, we theorized before. Forced out, right? What if you're driving along? What do? You want to get seen by as many people as possible. You drive through major urban centers. You take the long way. Oh, yeah, black Filipino guy.
Yep.
You go through major urban centers like Luna did. You hope somebody spots you. Somebody notices you're distressed. All of this shit. I don't know. I also think it's very possible that somebody knocked him out, took him the long way around, because he didn't go directly from point A to point B. We know that. I think it's very possible that somebody drove him the first half and left him in the hands of another. Somebody kidnapped him and didn't kill him, changed it off to somebody who would kill him but didn't kidnap him. You know what I mean? And when they did that, this is 2003. I don't know when Easy Pass came out. What if the second guy who gets the handoff, gets in the car, doesn't realize Luna has Easy Pass? That's why he starts paying at the toll booths.
So that's pretty good. That does make sense. I was thinking something similar to that, whereas he was forced to drive. All right, mm-hmm. So he gets ambushed. Maybe he was running back down to his car to grab something. Maybe he had somebody who called him on that call that we don't know. They decide
Maybe he was
to
right in
meet
his
him.
office.
Right. He leaves his glasses and stuff in his office. He runs down, figures he's going to be real quick, meets with this informant or whatever, and instead gets ambushed and is forced to drive. After he pulls the $200 out of the ATM, he's then injured, thrown in the back seat, and somebody else drives, not realizing that he's got the Easy Pass, and pays the tolls the rest of the way.
Now, Friends, in an article I actually just skimmed, it just said that Friends actually say that they're the source that say he couldn't drive without his glasses. So that indicates to me when he runs out of his office, he's not expecting to go anywhere.
Right. Like he must have been he must have just been meeting somebody. And obviously the security at his fucking parking garage sucks ass because they didn't see him come. Like they only have recorded him going. So like anybody could have gotten in there and met up with him. And there's the phone call, like I said, the phone call which we don't know who it came from. And that's the one where he was like, all right, I got to go back to the office. He gets a phone call. His wife doesn't know who it's from. Nobody records who it's from. The phone records don't get released. And then he goes on this crazy ride.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't see him come. Yes, Biscuit.
But yeah, there's only so much we can say on it, though. That's pretty much that.
Yeah.
As far as I know. I mean, there's this new developments with Ravenel very recently being revealed to be dirty. Mm-hmm. Whether that's pertinent or not, whether anything new will come out. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't like a ton of different stuff here. Like, it's interesting that it does seem like another smear campaign was run on him afterwards.
In fact, that's true. I did hear another thing. The word leak was used when regarding his access to these accounts and things. Well, I even heard one theory that an FBI person themselves are the ones to leak it.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, they if they killed him, they obviously want to do everything they can to discredit this guy, make it so nobody cares. Like, the public is so easily motivated to outrage or to not caring, and it's so easy to manipulate the masses when you have their ear. Blue asked a good point. She said, Easy Pass for what Pike? So, like, is there an Easy Pass? I'm trying to Google now that does Baltimore.
That's a good point.
Penn, New, and then, or no, he didn't use it in Pennsylvania. He used it in Baltimore, Delaware, and I think New Jersey, right? You can use New Jersey Easy Pass in Delaware. Delaware, you can use your Easy Pass in State Route 1.
He did use it in Pennsylvania, I'll say. He was using Easy Pass all the way to Pennsylvania. It was only in it was at the Pennsylvania Turnpike / the Reading / Lancaster interchange that he switched to a ticket.
It says that in Maryland, the Easy Pass in Maryland allows individuals and businesses to pay tolls in Maryland and any other states where Easy Pass is accepted. So it does work for every state on this one.
Fascinating.
Which is interesting. Well, at least like in there. Yeah, it says cars with Easy Pass can drive through 26 toll agencies in 15 states using the same pass. So, yeah, the only ticket that he used was going into Pennsylvania, right?
Yep, was at the Lancaster interchange.
Right.
From there, he possibly. Oh, from there he was pretty much there. So we don't know when he stopped using Easy Pass necessarily, but we do know that he wasn't using it at the end.
Yeah. Hey, Leos. Yes, this is basically what we're talking about. We do on Saturday nights. We do like true crime, murder, mystery, stuff like that.
Yep.
And yeah.
So far, we've gone over the Yuba County 5 in episode 1. We went over the Somerton Man in episode 2. And tonight we've talked about actually 2 unrelated cases with similar themes in the form of Gareth Williams and Jonathan Luna.
Hell yeah. That was the last stop, 2003. It's very reasonable that Lancaster interchange didn't have an Easy Pass fitting. It's true. Lancaster is like fucking. It's like Dutch country, right?
I'm just surprised at how little there really is. Like, you know, I talked about at the end of our at the end of the last episode about the Somerton Man, how his wiki page was like reading War and Peace. There were 137 citations and all this. Jonathan Luna has 10 citations on Wikipedia.
Yeah, it's much shorter.
It's 6 paragraphs, 7 paragraphs. This was a prosecutor who drove 4 states away and stabbed himself to death 36 times in the genitals. You'd think that this would be a big deal with a lot of evidence, and instead, what do we have? We have a missing car and the FBI telling the coroner to just rule it a suicide.
Just drop it. Yep.
That just smells to me. It's terrible.
Yeah, I had to do most of the research for this one on podcasts and stuff.
Yep. Unfortunately, there was not as much. At least Williams had the coroner speaking out for him and his family and all that. It seems Luna, unfortunately, has sort of lost interest.
Yeah, I mean, there just isn't shit for Luna here. Surprised we got as much out of it as we did. I'm looking at the wiki right now, and like there's a small paragraph about his personal life, 5 lines about his death, and then the 2 theories, and then that's pretty much it.
They did say something about grainy footage, but then they don't actually show anything.
Yeah.
So
let's see. In February 2020, the LNP newspaper in Lancaster County requested that a judge unseal coroner's records pertaining to Luna's death that were found to be in possession of the county instead of federal prosecutors, as had been originally thought. Judge Ashworth ruled that the documents would remain sealed, writing that releasing the records would pose a threat of substantially hindering or jeopardizing the open, active, and ongoing criminal investigation into the death of Jonathan Luna, which means as of January this year, it was still open, which they haven't done shit with it, though.
Yep. But hey, the FBI's offering $100,000 for information.
Yeah, I don't even think I read this wiki, to be honest. You'd think that would have been the first place I went. I don't think I read the wiki. I went everywhere. I probably looked up the wiki, saw there was nothing here, and was like, all right, on to the next thing.
It's really pathetic how short there is. You know, how little there is.
Yeah. Let's see. The wiki does parrot the $36,000 theory.
Yep. And that's just, from what I saw, not true.
Right.
10 sources. Come on, man.
Yeah. I'm reading that they have the car impounded, but FBI removed the interior. Interesting.
Good.
At least they still have the car.
Good.
Did they find the door from our last case now? Leos, how do you say your name? Leos? Well, Van Hoon over here said, let's call the feds now. A trustable source, Twitch said it was aliens. At least it isn't Space Yetis this week, right? Yeah. 100K in a shallow grave. Yes. Hoon. All right, Hoon. Well, welcome to the stream, Hoon. I hope you're having a good weekend. Yeah, I don't know.
There just should be so much more. If the
be.
FBI does have the interior, that should be case closed, because I did hear that there was maybe another profile found in the blood, like we said.
Right.
So it pisses me off. It's a nothing thing. It's a nothing thing.
Moby, Matt said that that he's reading about it now, and they impounded the car, but the FBI removed the interior, so they at least had it. I don't know if they still have it.
So the interior is what's missing.
Hoon equals chicken in English. I heard Americans love that.
I do love chicken.
I love chicken. I love Shannon Hoon from Blind Melon. So it all works. It all ties together. Interior crocodile alligator.
You know, I might do a little more digging on this in my free time. If I find out anything, post in the Discord.
Yes.
Shout out. Okay, so his car at least is still there.
Yeah. It says possession at Troop J's impound lot at its barracks. A silver Honda Accord was found at the scene covered in blood, but Roberts hasn't analyzed it for more evidence in recent years because the FBI had taken much of the blood cover interior out of the vehicle and is basically a shell of what it once was, much like me, Roberts said.
Yep, I feel that.
Only Americans get to say America. Blue is
that's
rowdy
our
tonight.
word. But, you know, it's just, yeah, I don't know. I'll look a little more into it, see if I can find anything interesting, but we'll have another interesting case for you next week, probably. I don't think we've decided what it is yet.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely talk about that. We had a few ideas on what we wanted to do. Hoon,
Yep,
you can always
and whatnot.
Hoon, you can always subscribe to my
Yes.
YouTube or follow here, and the VOD will be up for a while. Anybody that wants to subscribe to the YouTube, there's new content up there. Plus, I've been uploading our VODs there as well. Also, I'll plug my TikTok, and then Nick is on Twitter at NickApplesauce, and you can also follow him on Twitch, which I would highly recommend. Very entertaining streamer.
Yep, and this isn't all we do, by the way, Hoon, and anyone else who might be new. We do a lot of stuff. I game a lot, typically. I talk a lot, too. This is sort of new for us, episode 3, you know, big, fancy show on Saturday nights, and so far it's going very, very well.
Yes. It's been a lot of fun. So Saturday nights, 9 Central Time is when we do this shit. Do you have anything else that you want to add to this?
9 Central or 9 Eastern?
9 Eastern. What did I say?
Yep. You said Central.
I meant Eastern. I'm turning into a Texan, man.
9 Eastern time. And yeah, I'm just gonna say this. We talked a lot about MI6 covering things up. We talked a lot about the KGB or the remnants of it. We talked a lot about the FBI. Me and Pete are very happy in our lives. And I just want you to know that I have no impulse to light myself on fire or dive in front of a bus. You know, just putting that out there.
Yeah.
Just putting it out there. I might joke about being, you know, I know I listen to a lot of, you know, Soundgarden, but let's calm down. You know what I mean? I joke about it a lot, but I don't have any rope. All right? That's all I'm saying.
Yes. I will not be putting myself in a duffel bag and suffocating myself at any point here.
That was actually one of the guys, to throw it back to the Williams case, one of the guys on that BuzzFeed timeline actually said to his friends and family, if anything happens to me in the next few weeks, it's not an accident. And then his helicopter nosedived into the ground. And they rolled in an accident. You can't make this shit up, man.
Oh, man.
Oh, jeez.
Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. This has been fun. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh, God. Yeah, give me the aluminum hat.
Yeah, I need to know about this aluminum hat, Hoon. I'm on the edge of my seat. On the edge of my seat. I need to fucking know.
Oh, jeez.
So we could do a raid if you don't have anything else to add. I think.
No, yeah, I'm all done. And Blue is right. A lot of people die. No one believes them, and it's very, very sad that these two men tonight. This is what they did. This is what they did. This is how they died, and the authorities don't seem to give too much of a shit.
I would think.
Wait, how fast do giraffes go? Closest guess gets the win. Oh shit.
I just want to make sure this person's gonna be going for a little bit longer.
Yeah, sure, fair enough. We find quality raids around here.
Yeah, hell yeah. It was very interesting. Yes, it's been a lot of fun. All right, guys, I have a raid for us right here. Good friend of mine that I would love to, I'd love for y'all to go in and say hi to. He's a funny fucking dude. He's just chilling right now. So give them a little bit of love, and I guess we'll see you all next Saturday. I will be streaming this week in between.
Well, hurry, Hoon. When?
I'm not sure exactly which day I will be streaming next. It'll either be tomorrow or Monday. I'm still working that out.
I'll be in the coming days as well, somewhere.
Fuck yes, baby. Give Nick a fucking follow if you don't already. I'm telling you, you're missing out if you don't. It's actually just dumb not to. All right, guys. I love y'all. Stay happy, healthy, sexy, and safe. Nick, you got anything you want to say to the lovely people?
Yeah, thanks for coming out. Thank you for the hype train before. That was wild.
Fucking hype train. All the love, dude. Moby, Blue for the raid, Biscuit, Wes, Slays,
Daddy as well with the raid.
Daddy, Shipwreck Dan.
It's been fantastic.
I'm sorry I missed some other people here. Guys, Bakey, everybody, thank you guys very much, and we'll see you next time. Say hi to Opium. All right.
Awesome.